I'll just go ahead and get into this. Bursting desert city of Wati is near, or the bustling desert city of Wati is near bursting with excitement. Adventurers from every corner of the Inner Sea region have assembled here beneath the hot Osirian sun to explore the tombs of the city's necropolis, when only to be assigned their first sites for exploration. Surrounding the participants, the public is gathered to observe as a ceremony as well. There's festival-like quality in the air, and numerous street vendors are hawking goods and refreshments to participants and spectators alike. Some merchants have even brought what can only be considered adventuring gear, sell last-minute convenience to explorers. While they're advertised, they'll buy recovered treasures and antiquities from those who visit their establishments. In front of the opposing edifice, an immense awning has been erected. An immense awning has been erected between decorated pillars and the market, providing shade for the priests of Pharasma overseeing the lottery. Beneath the awning, two urns sit atop a table elevated a few feet above the ground, a wooden stage constructed for the event. The high priestess of the Grand Mausoleum, Sebeti the crocodile, sits beneath the table. Two acolytes confer with her on either side. Usually, depending on the age of the book, you'll be able to simply click on the pictures and then post it. We use Discord usually. For these purposes, I'm going to go ahead and use the inbuilt snipping tool of Pathfinder, so I can show you all a picture of the crocodile lady. Here we go. This is also the tool I use to grab the maps, which I'll show you how to set up maps later. But this is the character. Try and, if possible, the later documents, you can just click, copy, paste, makes things nice and easy. If you are going to be showing your characters and you have to use the snipping tool, for example, if the adventure is older or the PDFs are not quite as good, then make sure you don't have any text that the players may glean knowledge from. For example, nameplates shouldn't necessarily be included, and the surrounding text sometimes could cause issues. If it's like bulging in, you may get part of a spell list, maybe some tactics. Just be aware that is something you need to watch out for. But that is Sebeti the crocodile, who is overseeing the ritual. Again, we'll get more text from the players. Eventually, Sebti will rise to her feet, looking over the crowd. Surprisingly young, of course, for her position, though speaking with an air of authority. Let the lottery begin. Many of you have requested specific sites to explore. We leave these matters to fate. The Lady of the Graves is far better a judge of destiny than we mortals of the mortal sphere. Gates of the necropolis will open at sunrise tomorrow. Use this time in the evening to prepare yourselves for the task. These rules guide you in your endeavors of the holy place. Remember how this came to pass. Every slave huts a memorial in honor of the departed. May you go with the lady's blessing. Descriptions of this, or such as its nature, may give you knowledge of things you don't know as a player. For example, Pharasma. We've read the player's guide. We know a little bit about the Lady of Graves. But you can say, hey, may make a knowledge check about the Lady of Graves, specifically Cyrus. He is the one who is learned in terms of knowledge local, or knowledge religion. Go ahead and click that. And get a really high knowledge check, specifically a 28. Here's how knowledge checks are going to work. First, before I go any further, down bottom here, it allows you to click your character. So if you type in the chat, you can type slash, or for example, as Cyrus, we can do /me and say, you can make some quotes, or little asterisks. You can do pokes gamu. Then we close that. And it'll say Cyrus. Usually it'll have a picture here if you have a picture attached to the character sheet. And the action, for example, I use this if the GM is talking or combat's going on or stuff is happening spoken while you want to do something in the background. This allows you to mess around a little bit like that. As GM, not overly concerned about that. So, where was I? Oh, yes. Knowledge checks. He got a 28 on his knowledge religion checks. For the purposes of skill checks, usually the GM will allow you to, or will have a set DC that you're going for if it is a skill check listed in the scenario. Other than that, is really up to their own interpretation. For things like deities, or things like knowledge checks, 5s are what you're accounting for. Usually every 5 is a cutoff. 5 is common knowledge. DC 5. Everybody would know this. Everybody would have information about this. So Pharasma, being a major deity within the world of Pathfinder, governing death and life and souls that go into the afterlife, would be a DC 5 check. An uncommon deity, the one that most adults are familiar with. Maybe it's not the most common deity. Maybe it's not well known through every area. But people who lived in the region or are just alive would be able to make knowledge of it. Anything beyond a knowledge check of 10 will be something that the average adult is unaware of. These are obscure gods, maybe minor gods, evil gods, forbidden lore. That'll be a 15. 20 is someone more obscure. And again, as you get higher, it's really up to your own interpretation. 25 is usually the cutoff for religious purposes, but usually you can go 30 to 35 for beyond that. Just kind of keep in mind, could an average person do it? So an average NPC is going to have a stat of 10 plus 1 per level. So, if the adventurer party is, say, 9th level, they're expected to have 9 skill rings plus 3, gives them a plus 12 bonus, plus the relevant stat. Maybe 1 or 2 if they are just an average person within their area of study. So 15 is maybe the maximum of what you can get, assuming you're a fully studied 9th level character. 9th level characters are really rare in Galorian. So 35 DC is going to be some of the most rare and obscure texts that exist in writing. So that should be kind of the top end for your knowledge check. Monster lore checks are different. Monster lore checks have their own set DC. We'll get to that as we go. But monster lore is to identify stats of a creature. The base DC is 5 for common, 10 for uncommon, 15 for rare. They exist, but either I, as a GM, as an experienced player, haven't come across them often, or it is completely new to me. However, it comes from a source that theoretically could exist elsewhere. And then a DC 20 skill check is these creatures are unique in the sense that they only exist in this location. However, they are not fully unique. Some creatures you'll come across will be unique creatures that only exist, like 3 of them in existence, and only at this location. It may be difficult for people to ascertain specific knowledge. However, they may glean, oh, that's still an undead, so we might know it has undead traits. Oh, that thing has claws. We think it might be able to do, or those claws look like they might be dripping with poison. That sort of thing. They may be able to glean some loose information, but not much. So it's 10 plus the relevant base, usually 10 plus their CR. That'll give you a DC. For example, let's say 15. If they meet the DC, they get their name, or their creature's name, the creature's general alignment, type, and subtype. If they exceed the DC at all, they get 1 question. We'll get to those specific questions as we continue forward. And then for every 5 they beat it by, they get an additional question. So, back to originally what we were there for. Cyrus's knowledge religion check. He got a 28. He is well studied in the Lady of the Graves. Pharasma is, again, Lady of the Graves. She is the god who rules over death and death and the cycle of life and rebirth, specifically concerning midwives coming back to life. Every soul that flows into the afterlife eventually makes their way before her throne, where she judges them and sends them to the various planes and domains: heaven, hell, the abyss, Elysium, all those various outer planes. She's what judges your soul and sends you to those various locations. The big stickler for anybody who tries to beat the cycle of life and death, who pursues immortality. She dislikes people who pursue immortality. She hates the undead. Specifically, necromancers are her most favorite enemy. There are people who follow her. She has specifically outsiders who follow her called psychopomps. We may or may not know information about them. But getting this good a knowledge check, psychopomps being a thing you may know about, we're not going to worry too much about that. But needless to say, it is a bit odd that the Pharasmans are opening up tubes to being robbed. Usually they like to be left alone. But we do know that the Pharaoh was the one who oversaw this, so maybe we'll learn more as things continue. Give me a second while I drink some water. We've decided upon a lottery system for gaining it. Because of lottery, of course, as the gym, it says we're trying to avoid any conflict between groups. If anybody backroom deals or whatnot to bribe locals, all makes sense. So after Sebti returns to her seat, the two acolytes accompanying her each draw a wooden token from one of the urns on the table. First will be the adventuring group, matching the token to the received to the various lottery group. The second will be the tomb location. Once the group's identity has been confirmed, the representative is shown to the location on the map of the entire necropolis. You're also given a smaller sketched map that shows the site's location relative to the gate. Once, eventually, you will make your way towards the front. As you are given, probably a Gamu will be the one going to the front. He'll specifically be given the Tomb of... Oh my goodness, there's going to be a... I will once again apologize. I speak English, I'm not overly familiar with many various languages and the subtleties that are associated with them. Especially when we are within a fantasy settings, where we are only loosely associated with our with the language that these come from. So I'm going to be butchering pronunciations. Sometimes it seems that Piezo and other authors they take a dartboard, throw darts to get the letters and consonants, and try and make them all work. It's rough. So the party, the adventurers, we are probably the... A lot of the pharaohs may be maybe a bit on the nose. And some people in power may take or have problems with that. So maybe think about blood. Now, the adventuring party does have to come up with a name, and specifically in this book as compared to others, because you are adventurers. We are tomb raiding. Maybe history's champions. Or something along those lines. I'm not going to worry about it for now. As we make our way to the front, being assigned the Akentepe tomb, we are given some basic rules, both mentioned by our speech and reiterated by the acolytes as we are brought forward. First off, you are to remember how this came to pass. How the plague of madness was unleashed upon the city, destroying huge portions of the population. The necropolis is a holy place. Do not engage in needless conflict and banditry, because such acts may be accursed by Pharasma. Even the slaves' huts are a memorial. Everywhere within the necropolis is a testament to the people who lived there. You must not desecrate or vandalize the structures. Preserve them as best you can. Some structures are trapped and decrepit, so be mindful of that. What you can. Do not destroy what is not necessarily to keep your lives intact. And finally, honor the departed. Dead should be treated with dignity. If the interred need to be disturbed to recover antiquity, they should return to their resting place carefully. It is understood, of course, that the dead are brittle. There's no need for the contents of the sarcophagi to be dumped along the ground. Of course, should you encounter any undead or other abominations down below, deal with them with great prejudice. But similarly, if it is safe to do so, please inter them back as best you can. Failure to comply with these rules may result in not only an expulsion from the necropolis, but also a ban on continued exploration, seizure of artifacts, arrest and persecution by local authority, and possibly, if the crimes are grievous enough, expulsion from Wati themselves. Should we need to call the city guard, however, it will be for a serious infraction that we can very much prove. So be on your guard. And finally, we jump right into things. There's very little time for it. So we'll go ahead and have a map early on here of the tomb we're going to be exploring. Most adventure paths should come with the relevant maps associated. Depending on the age of the document, some are better than others. As you come later and later down the line, especially some of these Pathfinder 2 ones that I've been reading through, the PDFs are incredible. They include various buttons you can click to change the layout. This one, however, is one of the older ones. Not incredibly old, but it doesn't have the best features. It does, however, have various options you can choose from. We have the GM's view, that is going to include the room, or include the layout, the grid, stuff inside, and the room tags, so we can go room 1, room 2, and so on and so forth. However, there is next a page that includes the grid, plus no map tags, and then finally there is a map without the grid or map tags. I guess this one also includes no grid and map tags. Makes things easy depending on how you like to do things. Me, for the most part, depending on the size of the map, I will get a map that has no map tags but includes grids so we can look things up easier. Once again, I will go, just going to describe this, so once again, you can't copy this, or copy just in case you do not have it yourself. I do recommend supporting Piezo if you enjoy this sort of content. It exists out there, and you can usually get your hands on it by problematic means, is what I'll say. But I love this company. I've supported this company before. I don't agree with every decision they make, don't get me wrong, like with everything. But a lot of the work they have done in the past, I've played this game for nearly a decade now. I've supported them. I've put my own money towards a lot of this content, and I believe you should too. So, go ahead and take a snip of the picture, and then save it as your various document. For me, I need to save it in a new section. I recommend saving it as whatever the map is called. Specifically, this is going to be the Tomb of AH, or AK, Tomb of AKHEN TEPI. And then we will go to just that location. Now then, as we are making character sheets, I recommend having a few basic ones up here. First off, have a starting section. This is just kind of your generic, this is where we're going to be dropping in players between sessions. If there's problems, we can get things set up. We can make sure our players have all their bars correct. Also gives you an opportunity. You can set up a few light sources if you have dynamic lighting. It allows you to make a few walls in that regard. Do that, you just go down to here and click light. You then make a just line or whatever, and it will set up automatically. You will have to set up to tokens specifically so they can use dynamic lighting. The easiest way to do that is you just go to dynamic lighting and select C. Then, therefore, anybody who has control of the token and character sheet will then be allowed to see it as appropriate. You may have to set up various light sources yourself, but it's not that difficult. Of course, I am not currently able to pay for this, or to pay for the premium on Roll20 as of now, but I am familiar with it. Next, I recommend setting up a GM page. This is mostly just so you can set up tokens, you can get everything set up ahead of time. In case you need to quickly copy-paste things, it makes it easier to just drag things in, set up the HP, and then you can go set them up more specifically later. Allows you to get random encounters set up, and just having it is nice. Next, I recommend setting up an empty page. There are going to be a number of encounters throughout the adventure that are not going to have a listed page associated with them. As a result, I recommend having that just so you can have something. If you know you're going to be in forest regularly, maybe you can grab some forest maps. Maybe you can grab a bar if you're going to be in a bar regular, or if you have a bar that the players frequent, maybe they have a house set up. Regardless, some sort of empty page that you can do random encounters on, and then maybe some appropriate splat maps to just kind of help with some variety. One thing you can do, and I like doing it in the past, is as I'm getting a random encounter set up, I'll go to a map and just say, hey, players, especially if they have artistic ability, this is going to be a battle in a forest along a river. Feel free to draw that map as you see it in your minds. It gives your players a little bit of activity to do while you're getting things rolled up, while you're getting things set up. Just makes things nice and easy. For now, though, as the player and GM, we're going to go ahead and add a page. This thing is not set up specifically. You'll have to go into the game settings, but make sure you're in Pathfinder 3.5 corners, because we are playing Pathfinder, not 5th edition or 2nd edition. Corners, we do care about the Pythagorean theorem here. So going on diagonals is going to take more movement than normal. Hello, welcome to the stream. Yes, this is Pathfinder 1. That is what I'm familiar with, and that is what I'm going to be teaching / playing here. You can set up your width and cell. For now, we're not going to worry too much about it, because we're going to get things set up. We then scroll out a little bit. We go down to map layer here. We go over to wherever we happen to have saved the picture. This is the only picture here. You click and drag it onto the map. I mean, it depends on what exactly you're looking for. It's a very different system. The lore, of course, of setting is the same. Of course, Pathfinder 2 is set after the events of Pathfinder 1. But Pathfinder 1 is based on the Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 system. Pathfinder, or Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast went from Pathfinder 1, or from Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, which is a beloved system that was played for many, many years, switched over to 4th edition, which is a radically different system. They dumbed it down, according to many, made it much more supposedly appealing to video gamers. The system lacked a lot of complexity that the 3.5 players that enjoyed, so they weren't necessarily a huge fan. So Piezo came along, originally creating content for the 3.5 era, and eventually decided to make their own system with their own company, and thus Pathfinder 1 was birthed. Very similar to 3.5, however, it streamlined a lot of the processes. In the same way that Pathfinder 2 has a lot of similarities and draws inspiration from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Pathfinder 1 is based on the 3.5 system. Still uses a d20, still has a lot of the same concepts you're familiar with. No, Pathfinder does not use THAC0. THAC0 was a system of 2nd edition D&D and does D&D. It has a lot more power difference as you continue to get higher in level. Characters are much more diverse. Numbers can get very, very high. But it is quite different, is what I will say. The reason I rolled a giant amount of percentile dice is Roll20 specifically has whenever you first jump into a game, there's a join. It is a hidden join link, admittedly, but I didn't want to accidentally mouse over a join link as I'm playing and have anybody be able to join this game. So I usually, whenever I jump into the game when I'm going to be streaming it, and just roll a bunch of percentile dice so that I don't have to worry about it. Okay, this specific map, as we are going to, needs to be much wider and much taller. Go to maybe a 40 by 40. As you get bigger, the maps are going to have some issues loading. For whatever reason, this map seems to be unfocused all of a sudden. Okay. If you hold down the Alt key while you're working with Roll20, it will automatically size it. And just kind of keep going until it looks like it roughly lines up. The answer is, it is very difficult to make this perfect. However, usually you can get relatively close. For example, in this case, it's almost perfect. If we go ahead and slide this here, usually you can just count if the grid is throughout the entirety of the map. Sometimes you can't. Looks like we need to slim this down a little bit towards the top, but this is close enough for what we're going for. Make sure you align to grid. Another feature you can do is if you right-click, you can change the layer, but most importantly, we can go to Advanced Transform. We could go Align to Grid. This allows you to then select a 3x3 region, usually want it as centrally located as possible. Like this here. And you align it to grid such as, like that. Try and get it as best square as you can. It looks like a 70 by 70 is good. I dislike doing this because it can sometimes warp it in a way that makes it unsupported by the grid. If you look, this map over here is never going to be perfect. If you're constantly having problems with the grid and it's fighting you, try and grab a map without the grid, and then you won't have to worry about it. As for Roll20 supporting virtual tabletop files, I don't know. I'm not familiar with using virtual tabletop files, so you'd have to do the research on your own. However, there are a number of pre-existing scenarios within Pathfinder. I know Rise of the Rune Lords has one that includes a bunch of pre-made maps and everything already set up. So there is some content such as that. Now we go ahead and go over here. It looks like the height needs to be about 10 less. Is that correct? Nope, 4 less than that. Okay, we can go ahead and save there. Now, normally, if we go to our settings here, there's apply dominant color for map. We'll go ahead and turn that off, just so this stuff is not shaded. Now, as a GM, I then like to go through and set things up as appropriate. So if we go to our page number within the book, I like ahead of time, assuming I've done all this ahead of time, and I'm running my own personal game again, doing this just so that you as an audience are able to figure out how I do this for the first time. I'll go through, I will mark all of the rooms on the GM layer. For example, this room in the top right is A1, A2, A3. I'll set them up, just type them up so that I, as the GM, don't have to constantly go back and forth and reference. It's going to get complicated. Character creation. I think my previous streams, I went through and I created 4 different characters. It's not overly complicated if you know it with a little bit of knowledge. But the quick steps of it are, assuming you have the reference of the character creation rules that your GM has described, you got either a point value, you either roll stats, you know what your starting goal is, and you kind of know the lore of what you're trying to create. You choose a class, same as normal. You go through all the various options, working with your party. You choose a race based on that class, so you with your relevant stat bumps. As opposed to Pathfinder 2, the races are a lot more open-ended in what races and classes go together. In Pathfinder 1, each of the races has a stat bonuses they give bonuses to, and stats they reduce. For example, one of the humans give +2 to any single stat plus a feat and a trait. I think we have a sylph in the party who gives bonuses to dexterity and intelligence, but a penalty to their charisma score, or some other various stat. So it's a lot more set in stone like that. You then do your ability scores as appropriate. In this case, we did a point buy. So this is based on the 3-5. You can either roll stats. You can use various systems. 46 drop lowest, 46 drop lowest, reroll ones. 3d6 roll ones. Usually players then allow, or GMs allow them to reorganize their stats based on how they want to do it. And then you pick feats and traits. Feats being, I mean, they're somewhat similar to Pathfinder 2 in how you select them. You get one at every odd level. But usually in Pathfinder 1, they're way more important and change your characters in a much more specific way. And then traits are kind of similar to your background. They don't give you any stat bonuses, but they change your character in a way. They maybe make you good at certain skill checks. Maybe they make it so that you can do certain actions slightly better. Regardless, if you know what you're doing, it's maybe a half an hour to an hour long process. Though if you're not, there's plenty of guides out there. Every class in Pathfinder 1 has a guide you can look up to kind of help you with the character building process, help you avoid pitfalls and whatnot. Okay. But for this specific game, to avoid any spoilers of room numbers, I'm just going to go ahead and take a snipping of where we happen to be. This will allow us... Oh, that's what the problem was. This tomb is not fully fleshed out. That's why I had so many different pictures of it. This map... Pitfall's mostly just in how you build your character. some options seem appealing when you first start, but maybe are less so as you end up playing your character for a little while longer. Uh, Options that seem good aren't necessarily as good. Pitfall is more so in nothing is. There's not necessarily anything bad or wrong way to play Pathfinder. Same with any other tabletop game. But the important thing is, just within your table, to make sure you're having fun and your character is roughly on the same power level as everybody else on the table. You don't want one person to, if you're to be way weaker than everybody else. Maybe they built a fighter who uses swords, but they didn't give themselves enough strength to take or to be great at it, so they can really struggle in combat. You also don't want your character to be useless outside of combat. You're going to make sure you have some skills and some roleplay to back all that up. Pitfall is just being options that, for example, clerics, dwarven clerics. They aren't bad by any means. They get a wisdom bonus, they get bonus to con. However, they take a penalty in charisma. Charisma is somewhat important in Pathfinder because they allow you to, or that allows you for your channel energies. Big AoE burst heals or big AoE burst damage to undead. That is something that's going to be common. So when you think a classic dwarven cleric, perfectly acceptable. You'll just have to realize that with the penalty to charisma, you may not be good at channeling, which means you're not going to be capable of doing it in combat. So just stuff to be forewarned about compared to other options you could select. But once again, everything is really dependent on your table, what kind of things you're going to want to do. For the most part, if you're with a less experienced party, kind of everything's up in the air. I usually recommend the guides because it allows the players to, with a huge amount of information, 10 years of content for Pathfinder 1, especially if you open up other content. Usually I avoid third-party stuff, but maybe on occasion with more experienced players, sometimes I might allow some certain 3.5 content, but there's just so much stuff out there for Pathfinder that it can be overwhelming for new players. So I recommend the guides as a quick and dirty way to learn about the classes that you may want to play. But I went into all the classes in detail during my previous stream of this. But let's just say the tomb is more complex than it would initially seem, which is why there are problems. I may come back and grab the other map. We may just draw some rooms in here. It will be fine for the most part. But if you are using the advanced Roll20 and you have access to dynamic lighting, you then go to the lighting layer and you simply draw walls outlining all of these various sections as appropriate. Anywhere that there is going to be a door, you can add a door object. You do need to be aware if there are secret doors, for example, your goal is to make them function as normal, or make them look like normal walls. For example, if this door here was a secret door, I would simply bulge out a little bit. This whole wall would come forward a tiny amount so that the players on the map are unable to see the doors, but it still makes sense within the context of the room. However, you should make it so that any wall or thing that you plan on moving during the duration of gameplay is separate from the normal gameplay, or is separate from the other walls. So this wall, I would have it come a little further out. I'd maybe go here, make these sections here. So for example, I'd make a line to there, maybe a little bit closer. Escape and it will end the wall. And then I'd fill this middle section in with a different color. Maybe my preferred is to use red for movable things and green for walls. And you set that up. Roll20 has gotten some odd updates, so it's going to take me a little bit to get used to it. I'm not used to this line tool being so nice and easy. But something like that, where you can then come through and delete this, and the players will then be allowed to see through the wall just fine. But in this circumstance, you could have access to the Fog of War. You could turn on and fill on the page. Fog of War is the default option. For whatever reason, I very much dislike this. Or dislike the... It's been a while since I've used this, but Fog of War is nice and simple. You turn on the Fog of War, and then it allows you to add or subtract. In this circumstance, you just highlight an area, and then the players are then able to see that. The advantage of this is it's nice and easy. There's no complicated feature to it. However, it doesn't allow you to have different player information. Everybody either sees it or doesn't see it as appropriate. But if this is what you got, this is what you can work with. I played with this for years before we started using, my group started using Roll20 Premium. Nice and easy. You can use both at the same time. Usually it's one or the other. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal all, because again, not as important. But a perfectly functional tool. We're starting up in the top right. Let's go ahead and drag the party on. Let's go ahead and first off go back to the token layer. You're going to regularly run into problems. I do recommend, if you are playing with the Fog of War, you can put things on the GM layer. GM layer is specific to only the GM will be able to see them. However, they will look semi-translucent. So if things are stealthing, things are invisible, it allows you to keep track of them. The further thing to note is during the initiative tracker, which will come up later, things that are on everything can be added to the initiative tracker. However, the players are unable to see anything that is on the GM layer, which is fine. There's no big deal about that. It allows you to secretly roll initiative and whatnot. The downside, of course, being that the players may think it is their turn and start taking actions when it is not their turn. So make sure if there are problems that you let players know ahead of time. But yeah, the spam bots are... They probably simply have a much wider selection of URL generation now. Okay, so this top right is not necessarily perfectly aligned. That's one of the problems with using something like Roll20, but it's close enough that we're not going to worry about it. You'd start outside, possibly in the first room. Let's go ahead and add everybody to the map. The players can drag themselves, but usually, especially if there's going to be sighting issues, you should drag the players. In this party, it's going to be Shari and Big Green up front. However, because Shari is riding Big Green, even though Big Green is not overly large, you only need to include one or the other. I do recommend putting the token somewhere on the map, as it will allow you to check their AC regularly and modify their HP as appropriate. But just note, either you can make it maybe a marker of it, in some way that there is a creature here as well. But you will, over time, have to set what you call your traveling formation, your party's formation. So in this party, it will be Shari up front, maybe Cyrus and something like this, maybe. Maybe putting Cyrus in front and these two together, with going further south. It depends on how the party wants to travel. But we know that no one really wants to get attacked outside of, or is expected to get attacked outside of Shari. So for the most part, she should be in front with the rest of the party following a short distance behind. As your players are traveling, you can say, we're moving in formation. That means they're moving in whatever this pre-established setup has been. And as things happen, you can tell the players to move themselves as appropriate. For the most part, your players should be good. If your players are reasonable people, they'll move themselves up as it's appropriate. So they won't go, oh, this is obviously an encounter, I'm going to move myself in the most optimal position. No. You're moving up in formation, you're maybe a step or two behind. Maybe this person has gone into the room to make and check it safe. But try and limit the amount of time it takes for players to go, oh, everybody moves their token. We have to wait for everybody to get situated. But also to prevent metagaming of doing everything optimal. Just speak with your players if it's becoming an issue. Like most issues, talk it out. Things are nice and easy. So, once again, everybody is at the door. You're not double-clicking tokens. If you shift and click, it will automatically click and drag everybody where appropriate on the map. So if you're zoomed in or it's a really big map, it can cause issues. Shift-click as the GM will center all of the players. Also, just clicking and holding will ping the location. Apparently, ping has a double circle now as compared to where it was as a previous single circle. But we eventually, the party makes their way towards the tomb. The necropolis is relatively uninteresting, though the eerie feeling does stick in the air. This place is sacred, though holds various undead throughout the time. This place is both cursed and blessed, and what this whole city has been built around. The gates open soon the following morning. The party is given time to buy any last-minute adventuring gear and whatnot. Various information. Tomb's location is marked on the map of Wati. We are located in Ossyria, or Syrian. This is on the southern continent of Avestan, near the Mwangi Expanse and near Ketepesh. This is a nation based on the ancient Egyptian lore. Pharaohs, tombs, thousands of years of history. Long enough, though, that with over 8,000 years of history, what was once ancient is now, or we're raiding tombs of the previous inhabitants of this locale. The setup of the adventure is the party somehow gathered to make their fortune and fame, going through the tombs. The pharaoh of this country, though is not overly excited about the tomb raiding, does believe that the economic boon that the antiquities will provide will give a burst to the economy in a way that it would be helpful overall. So as discussed with the various landowners and overseers of the various locations to open them up to adventuring groups. The party has gathered together to make their fortune and set out to, for whatever one reason or another, some of our party is looking for history, some of them just want to make fame and money. But for the most part, this doesn't have as important of a backstory. There is a player's guide, along with all Pathfinder Adventure Path, a player's guide of information about how to make your characters, where you're going to be going, some background lore of the setting. But for the most part, just think tomb raiding in ancient Egypt is the quick setting. Eventually make your way to the tomb. A regular stone mausoleum sitting atop of what appears to have once been an actual cemetery. The trunks of a few dead trees poke out of the sand beneath the tombs. Hot breeze whistled through the desiccated branches. Massive stone double doors affixed to the northern side of the structure. Beneath the facade appears to be the likeness of an Assyrian man. Wind-blown sand is heaped around the crypt, partially burying the doors that lead within. Another important feature, usually at the beginning of the... They get better as time has gone. Usually at the beginning of the the area, the room, whatnot, will be a description of the various features inside. Maybe how strong the doors are, how high the ceilings are, other information that the players are likely to ask. Thank you very much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the quick summary and the quick little information I was able to provide you about Pathfinder 1. I do recommend the system. If you're familiar with Pathfinder 2, it may be a bit of a jump to get into. But with 10 years of content, there is a wealth of fun and exciting content to engage in. Hope you have a good day. But yes, all that information. If no information is stated, you can generally assume wooden doors or stone doors as appropriate to the area. Ceilings can either be 10 or 15 feet high. I usually like 15 feet because that allows for a little bit more leeway in the ceilings. And the average real-life house, ceilings are about 10 to 12 feet high. So it kind of depends. If you expect to encounter large creatures regularly, 10-foot or 15-foot ceiling is nice. Most of these tombs, though, I am going to say are 10 feet unless stated otherwise. Because they're going to be limited on space, it takes effort to build. 10 feet makes sense in my mind. Okay. We are going to reopen this location. The doors can swing open. However, the sand is currently in the way and is going to require a strength check to open. Or you can go ahead and dig. What will be noted, there are various tools, of course, to make things easier. Traveler's Any tool is going to be the one that we're going to be picking up in the near future. But things like crowbars, and such would make this kind of check easier. But you can make a strength check. In this circumstance, you can have what's called Aid Another. Aid Another is an action that is going to come up quite regularly within your gameplay, or at least it very well should. Aid Another is a simple action in a circumstance in which a player is able to help out someone else in a skill check. For example, if you're making a diplomacy check, you have one person take the lead, the other people make relevant statements to make a good argument. They can roll to Aid Another. In this circumstance, there are a couple of doors here. It looks like 2 people can help out. A total of 2 people can be pulling and tugging on these doors. So, limited by the amount of space, there's going to be an Aid Another check. We're going to have Shari take the lead. And then our second strongest member, of course, there is no one else who is overly strong. But all you're doing to aid a number is you're rolling against a DC 10. Assuming you get at least a 10, you then provide a +2 bonus on the skill check to succeed. So in this circumstance, we have Shari taking the lead and rolling a strength check. Go ahead and open up her character sheet. If we go to core, we then go to strength. You just simply click the strength button. In this circumstance, you roll 3 + 4. Let's say, who was it that's going to be assisting? Cyrus? Cyrus, do you have what is your strength score? Your strength score is 9. You're the second strongest, which is not much, but we rolled a 17, which, admittedly, that result is better. However, I already stated that he was going to be aiding another. That means he does not, regardless of how good his result is, it only provides the +2. So, for example, we got a 9. So then I, as the GM, would simply say, these doors seem to be well stuck at this point. It probably, the easiest way, though time-consuming, might be to dig it. However, this does seem, given enough effort, Shari does seem that it might be possible for her to pull these doors open. Not impossible, just very difficult. So, Shari then has a couple of options. If it's within the realm of possibility, I can say I take 10. Taking 10 is assuming that it means that you have assumed that you get the result of a 10. Taking 10 is something that I, as a player, love to do, and try and do whenever I'm given the opportunity, if it's something I believe I am very good at. Taking 10, so we would say we got a result of 10 plus our 4 bonus, so a 14, and then our assists would roll on top of that. You may not take 10 when assisting, otherwise you would more often than not successfully assist. But even with the result of an additional +2, it is not possible. Then we can then take the result one step further. We can take 20. Taking 20 is a time-consuming affair. Taking 10 takes no longer than the result of a normal skill check. Taking 20 results in taking 20 times as long from an average skill check. Taking 20 is then going to assume that you rolled every single check between a 1 and a 20, starting from 1. So if there is a penalty for failure, you cannot take 20. For example, if you're trying to disarm a trap. If you fail a trap by a significant amount, you automatically trigger and bad things happen. You can take 10 on a trap if you're outside of combat, but otherwise, there is no issue. So, for example, opening a door. No penalty for failure. Or at least I do not believe, as a player, there is a penalty for failure. I'm going to take 20. It's going to take me maybe a couple of minutes, but eventually, with Cyrus's help, I will be able to pull this door open. Let's go ahead and move ourselves down a little bit so we can get this room set up a little bit more appropriately. This rectangular room is empty, save for engravings and fixtures upon the wall. A pair of heavy doors to the north, and an immense stone wheel against the southern door. They are stale, and a layer of dust and sand covers the floor, lying on a thicker layer to the south. All 4 walls bear sunk relief engravings and hieroglyphs, while small stone faces are affixed to the walls at about shoulder height in each corner. The stone wheel to the south is engraved with a large spiral, and set in these stone tracks on the floor and the ceilings. However, before we go any further, there is a large creature in this room. Usually, after the room description, there'll be basically a blurb of the relevant GM information. So in this circumstance, there's a lot of stuff that is important here. However, going down further, at the top of the room, before even the room description, it says Tomb Antechamber, in parentheses, CR 1/2. That means either there is going to be an encounter in this room, or there's going to be an encounter of some sort, whether that be a trap, a creature, or whatnot. somehow, some way, there is going to be something in this room. In this circumstance, it is a very, very hungry scorpion. So we go to here, we go to roll 20, we do scorpion. We can do from the web, and we also have the assets here. So for this circumstance, we will have to do from the web. Grab it over, you drag it. Some of these sites don't like being... There we go. Some of these don't like being dragged. They will refuse. It just is going to take a little bit of time. So, now is nice and easy. Now we just go ahead and roll initiative. To roll initiative, you have the GM open the sheet. You then have everybody individually go to their character. And we start with the Gambu. Go to the core. After clicking your token, you then click the initiative button. This will automatically roll initiative and add it to the tracker. I will note, when using the assets here, you have your library, you have your premium assets. If you are using the web assets, you do need to be careful. For the most part, it is all safe to use. However, you do need to be careful. Certain in the past, I've encountered things that are, well, not horribly inappropriate. They have... It's not always PG, some of the web pictures. It is also not a particularly well-searched or optimal algorithm. In my opinion, it is intentionally done in that way because they want you to pay for premium, use their pre-made assets. But you can also just copy and paste pictures. However, you are limited in space in terms of your... how many pictures you can have. You do need to be aware of that. So, Tease, roll your initiative. You are very, very good initiative. And then finally, Cyrus will need to be rolled. We go here. And then for any NPCs, any non-players, you can go ahead. You can also ping it. We hit add turn. And then we /GM roll 1d20. Makes things nice and easy. Then we then quickly Google. Most of the enemies, if they are basic enemies or non-specific enemies, will just give a reference to the players or to the relevant document. However, for the most part, Pathfinder Giant Scorpion, Eowyn, most every monster has a stat block that'll look like this. We'll go ahead and dissect this in just a moment. For now, all we need to know is their initiative bonus is +0. So we say 6 plus 0 is 6 here. The reason that these, the characters have initiative bonuses of like 26.07 is if two people roll the same result. For example, Agamu and Cyrus both got a result of 13. Whoever has the highest modifier then acts first. If the modifiers are the same, then if it's players, you can usually just ask, because they can shift around their initiative as appropriate. However, if it's an NPC and a player, and they both have both the same initiative and the same modifier, it is then roll. Ask both of them to roll a d20. Whoever rolls the higher on a d20 goes first. We then order our initiative as appropriate. So, first up is going to be Atis. Atis will see this giant scorpion. A scorpion is a common enough creature that you might be able to identify it. Big stinger, bad thing. She's lived in Osiria for a while. Probably could make this knowledge check. It would be a knowledge nature. It is a vermin creature. This is a large creature. Okay. My scorpion just disappeared. Okay, these web assets are refusing to operate nicely. So for now, we're going to go ahead and use maybe a spider of some sort. Okay, we'll use a spider. Go ahead and add you to the tracker on initiative 6. Luckily, we don't have to reorder anything. We're probably going to be using these almost exclusively, so just be aware. Not everything may be as it appears. It is up to you. I will state this as well. It is up to you as the GM to determine how much effort you and your players want to put into these maps. I personally hate making maps. That's one of the reasons why I don't often include custom pictures. I just kind of use the whatever Roll20 happens to give me. So I'll use pull the assets, I'll roll the scorpions. I will go through and make all the maps. I'll set up the walls and stuff as appropriate. But you're not going to get a perfect picture for every single NPC. You're not going to get these perfect background random encounter maps. I don't find that fun. It takes a lot of time to do, and the reward is it is a step up, but it's not so far a step up that it is worth it in my eyes. I enjoy when GMs do that. If you're running custom content and not running a pre-made AP, it can be worth it to do that sometimes. The game is what you make of it. If you and your players find that worth it, do it. If you don't enjoy it as much, or if you get more enjoyment out of doing less, don't do it. Have a little bit of an active imagination there. So, she could roll knowledge. Usually, once you get a couple of levels in, it's not going to be possible for your common players to roll knowledge. But in this specific circumstance, Atis will go first, and we'll roll a knowledge nature check. Not the most learned of individuals. Got a knowledge of 8. This is a giant scorpion. So, it is a common creature, CR 5, maybe. Hold on, is this... This is the wrong creature. This is a CR 3. It is supposed to be a ghost scorpion. It's very different. Make sure you're looking at the right creature. Ghost scorpions are a small vermin. Small is considered it is a 1 square creature. Filling in for zeros, so that's not going to change anything. So she would probably identify this as a scorpion of some sort. However, considering I've not encountered a ghost scorpion before, it's probably at least a 10. Maybe probably a 10. I've not encountered these before, but I have a feeling these are somewhat common within the region. Bestiary 3 is not a particularly exotic location. If we're talking Bestiary 5s and 6, that's where we're getting more obscure. But she probably identifies as a scorpion, probably has to be wary of a stinger, but she doesn't know much more. So, she has a couple of options. She could color spray, but we don't want to use up too much of our magic early on in the day. She's only got 5 uses before she runs out. So she needs to be a little bit wary of that. So for the most part, she's probably going to be holding on to that acid flask we were talking about before, and is going to try and shoot an acid splash at the creature. So she's going against touch AC 5. Of note, she's attacking through allies. She'll be taking a -4 to that. So touch AC of 1. That is going to be a failure. If we go over here, we have a big stat block. Let's go ahead and go over this at this point. All the information you're going to need is here. First up, neutral small vermin, that's size and alignment. Initiative, your senses are up here. Dark vision means you can see in the dark. Tremor sense means anything touching the ground within 60 feet, you know the location of, and rough size of. You don't know. It's kind of like Avatar: Last Airbender, Toph's tremor sense, or whatever you call it. However, it's nowhere near as detailed. All we know is where the footsteps are and size. You get your perception bonus. These are all relevant information. You got touch or normal AC. This is for the most part what you're going to be encountering most of the time. Flat-footed is the next most common. If the enemy has not acted during their turn initiative, or they're blind, or someone invisible is stabbing them, that is flat-footed. That means they are denied their dexterity bonus. In this case, there is no dexterity bonus. Next up, we have touch. Touch AC is how easy it is to, touch you. Most, or a lot of spell casts, and maybe some other certain situations, all you have to do is hit the creature, or hit the body of the creature without going through their armor class. That is touch AC. There's also something called flat-footed touch, which would come up in this circumstance. Luckily, it doesn't matter. Flat-footed touch is your touch AC minus your dexterity bonus. In this case, 0. This will give you the full set out. You got your HP, you got your various saves. This will be included in you'll have to roll these once various spells or actions happen. Special defenses are located underneath. For example, this creature is immune to mind-affecting effects. You got your move speeds, and then your offenses. These are all the offenses that this creature is capable of making. So, what does that mean? That means during a full attack, if I'm next to a creature, I'm going to make a full attack to get every single one. 2 claws and a sting. However, if I move in the same turn, similar to any other creature, I may only make one of these attacks. Usually it'll be if there's multiple options, for example, 2 claws and sting, I can make all of these together. If it is one or the other, there will be an or here. Special attacks will be pounce. It also has poison. You'll need to keep in mind that is some question they can ask. Pounce being a feature that allows you to make all your attacks when you charge. You got your statistics, you got your BAB, your CMB and CMD may come up occasionally. CMB is when you're making combat maneuver bonus. It means combat maneuver bonuses when you're making combat maneuver. Sundering, so breaking weapons or armor. Disarming, stealing something from someone during combat. Tripping someone. Throwing sand in someone's eyes. That's all using CMD against their CMB. The rest of this information is less important. Special abilities will come down here. Eventually, you'll get your CR. So, for example, this poison we'll bring up if it comes up. But for now, all that matters is that we miss the enemy creature. The next up is Shari. Shari might be able to attack. Or Shari is able to attack. Keep in mind, Shari has a reach weapon. Reach weapon means she can only attack at 10 feet out. Cannot attack base to base. Big Green, however, does have a bite. So we're going to first off start with Shari's attack. Noticeably, how people with animal companions work. In my mind, I just like to roll one initiative for whoever is the master. Otherwise, there's weird issues with delaying, and it's just a little bit annoying. For the most part, just rolling one initiative makes things simpler. However, if you are mounting a creature, such as Shari is doing with Big Green here, riding the creature itself, then... Hold on, it's tip of my tongue. Then you are forced to act on the same initiative. Whoever is riding is considered the one who has to roll the initiative. The creatures that is being ridden automatically takes initiative from them. So, Shari has a Lucerne Hammer, a Cold Iron Lucerne Hammer. We're just going to go ahead and roll that. Again, a 7 is not good enough. Notice very big damage. You'll then take Big Green, who gets to attack as well. Again, his reach with his tail is a 10-foot reach. So that'll be AC 12 for 13 points of damage. AC 12 will hit the AC and do 13 points of damage. Now, if you've gone through ahead of time, which I do recommend doing, you can mark, say this has 13 HP. I like having, once again, HP and armor. No need to include the specific information beyond that. Just normally see normal armor. So I put minus 13 here. It is now HP of 0. Normally, 0 means the creature would fall over. However, in circumstances such as this, or in some games it means to fall over. Pathfinder does not. 0 means the creature is staggered. Staggered is a condition. We'll speak about conditions when they come up. Staggered means the creature only has a standard action. Staggered at 0 HP means that the creature only has a standard action. However, if they do anything more strenuous than a simple move action, they will take 1 point of damage and fall unconscious. However, Shari also has a bite, or Big Green has a bite attack. So we're going to 5-foot step and make the bite attack. Because we are entitled to a full attack here. Bite will hit AC 7, which means it will miss. Once again, a 5-foot step is a special action that you can take at any point during your turn, assuming you do not take a move action, or you do not move. Move in any way, such as moving with your feet, flying, climbing, swimming. You may teleport with special actions. You may stand up from prone. You may take other move actions, like drawing a weapon from your backpack. However, you may not move your body in that way. Okay, next up is Cyrus. Cyrus also doesn't have a whole lot of options. He has his bombs, but he is not particularly great at them. So he's probably just going to shoot his crossbow. And similarly, he is going to miss. Finally, we've got Agamu. Agamu also has a crossbow that he is particularly terrible with. So he is going to shoot his crossbow. He's going to hit AC 10 and fail. Now, if we go ahead and open up the character sheet, or open up not the character sheet, but the book, there will oftentimes be specific tactics for the creature. For example, this creature, according to the GM notes, could take place any point after the PCs first enter the tomb. So technically, had I read a little bit further, this encounter should have only happened when the PCs were on their way out. It's fine, it's not that big a deal if you put it now, but It was supposed to be kind of this extra, pretty simple thing, but something they can deal with. The lore in this is maybe there was a hole in the wall, maybe this creature got in here earlier than now, but it doesn't have any tactics. Attempts to surprise the target with stealth if possible, not a whole lot to do, but it will fight to the death, which means until I die, I'm going to continue attacking. So, Big Green is the thing that successfully was able to hit me, so I'm going to, as a dumb little creature, attack the thing that was most damaging to me, so Big Green. I'll attack, I get a 5 plus my bonus of 2. I'm going to use my Stinger. Because it is my most dangerous attack, I'm going to attempt to poison him. However, I miss horribly. I would normally get my other attacks, however, I was staggered, so I didn't. I am then take 1 point of damage, and will begin bleeding out. So, bleeding out. This happens with both NPCs and PCs. For the most part, you don't have to worry about the NPCs unless it is a relevant character, maybe a main villain, the players are an NPC that the players like, or someone they're trying to bring alive. Once you are at negative, anything below 0, -1, negative whatever, every turn on your turn, you need to make a Constitution check. Plus relevant bonus, but for the most part, just Constitution. So, for example, we go to Agamu. He has a +0 to his Constitution. You click this button. He got a 14. What you are looking for is 10 plus the amount you're negative. So, for this spider, it would be 10 plus 1 for an 11 result. If you succeed, like Agamu would have in this circumstance, he would have stabilized. You don't bleed out anymore, your body is okay. If you fail, you take 1 further point of damage and continue to bleed. You'll do that every turn on your turn. I will note, usually if things go down and aren't actively healing, for example, if they have fast healing, regeneration, and whatnot, they're out of the combat, you don't have to worry about them. The players will not worry about them either. Just hit delete and we move on. However, once the players once PCs go down, stop attacking them. That's generally how things are assumed. If you do too much damage and you kill them outright, it happens. But for the most part, if players have gone down, they're not an issue. If, however, this is a long fight and the party members keep healing their allies, bringing them back up, they go down, back up, go down, then you have permission to stop them while they're... Not permission, you don't need my permission to do anything as a GM. But other than if they continuously come up and go down, don't worry too much about killing people on the ground. The PCs and NPCs both take that. Now, how you die in Pathfinder is if we once again go to Atis, for example, has 12 con. If you go down to -12 or beyond, you die. No save, no dice rolling, you just die. There are ways to... If you're dead for a short period of time, it's much easier to fix than if you die permanently. You can shove the soul back in the body with a little bit of burst healing. There's some medium level magic that's capable of doing that. For the most part, either you are of sufficient level to pay for bringing back people from the dead, or the damage should not be big enough that you get downed in one blow. But if you start getting low, for example, if you're at like 1 or 2 hit points and the guy's walloping you for like 15 to 20, you need to start being careful. That's one of the reasons I like Pathfinder a little bit more. Death is much easier to die. A little bit annoying if you grow attached to your character, but it doesn't matter how much damage you... It almost doesn't matter how much damage you take, you don't die. Instead, you get these dice roll, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Oh no, oh good. It doesn't matter. But if you take damage when you're negative, even after you stabilize, you will then no longer be stable and continue to bleed out. But we killed the creature, encounter is done with. La-di-da. Now then, let's go ahead and take a look around the room. Once again, after the encounter has been dealt with, we were given a description. There were all sorts of various hieroglyphs and whatnot. The hieroglyphs of the wall are as ancient Osiriani. With the engravings, they maybe have some description. Specifically, it describes the tomb's enshrined occupant. Akentepi, a celebrated military commander. During his time, presided over the troops garrisoned in Wati prior to the city's downfall. However, the hieroglyphs do warn. Of course, the only way I am able to ascertain this information is because if we go over to Cyrus's page, he speaks Ancient Osiriani, along with a couple other of our party members. So he's able to glean much more information. If the party does not have the relevant language to make this, you can ask them to make a linguistics check. Well, they might not be able to learn everything. Let's go ahead and take Cyrus, for example, and have him roll linguistics. With a result of 18, he might be able to glean some basic information. For example, this next bit. Hieroglyphs warn, Akhtentepe's tomb is well defended, and those who defile the tomb risk the wrath of the gods. So, for example, you may be able to glean with an 18, there are warnings about people desecrating the tomb. That might be all you get. You can cast spells such as comprehend languages to learn further information. You can have other people maybe try. You can have people assist with this linguistics roll to try and roll. However, another thing to be aware of, you can only roll to assist on a trained skill check, or on trained-only skill checks if you are trained in the skill. So linguistics is a trained-only skill. Only people who are trained in it, which should be most of the party at this point. Further, additional warning advises. The only thing the Lady of the Graves despises more than grave robbers is unsuccessful grave robbers. Final admonishment, turn back while you can. We can go ahead and make a knowledge religion check for the iconography on the swirls on the big stone. Cyrus, being familiar with the Lady of the Graves, Pharasma, identifies the swirling meteor sign as a symbol of Pharasma. Not necessarily the holy symbol, it's just the swirl. It's iconography of Pharasma, with two carved faces in the corners of the room depicting Pharasma further. The other two faces are going to require a different knowledge check. Cyrus is probably going to get a small bonus to this knowledge check based on his background. So, for example, the DC is 20. However, in this case, I will allow him to roll, and I will allow Agamu to roll as well, even though Agamu is not trained in knowledge religion as of yet. This is relevant for both of them, in that this is a DC 20, but I'll give it to him. With Agamu's help and a little bit of background lore they have, the other two faces in the room are the likenesses of Anubis, the ancient Osiria god of burials and mummification. Further revealed, closer examination of the faces revealed them to be decorative torch holders, such that when torches are placed, a crown of flames surround the deities' heads. Okay, first thing I would do, Stars to speak up. Well, there are these sconces in the room. That looks like a heavy stone feature. Shari, you want to give that a quick shove to see if you are capable of moving it? This door was heavy. That looks way worse. Right, well, speak up. Oh, right. I can go ahead and give it an effort. Go ahead and come up and give it a strength check. No, not quite. Seems a bit beyond my abilities. Maybe if we all work together, we might be able to get this thing to move. Might be able to see if there's an alternative means of, doing this sort of thing. Atis, Cyrus, anybody may speak up. There are these sconces around the wall. That might be important. Actually, do you want to check one thing real fast? Okay, just making sure. If I went back to the map to reference, 1 square equals 5 feet. Some of these locations look a bit tight in their corridors. So this is a 20 by 20 room, which makes sense for, average living circumstances. However, this is our kind of confined quarters, so we do need to be a bit wary. And some of the maps will be like this, but it'll say 1 square equals 10 feet, so you need to upsize it even further. Regardless, close quarters. So, Cyrus, being the genius fellow he is, having studied things like this, is going to go ahead and grab some torches from their various backpacks, light them up, and place them in the sconces around the room, trying to see if there is anything related to that. Agamu and the various rest of the party is going to go ahead and roll perception checks. One thing I like doing, Agamu's perception is plus 11. He is the highest. He is going to take 10 on his perception check for a 21. Everybody else may roll it as appropriate. For example, Shari we know is reasonably good at perception, so she'll go ahead and roll perception. Didn't get higher than Agamu, so they don't notice anything throughout the room, and lighting the torches and placing them in the corner has not seemingly done anything of value. So, it looks like they're just going to have to move the wheel. Pulling on a crowbar, of course, probably relevant. Probably had one of those on hand. Only cost a gold piece or so. Only two key characters can attempt to move at a time. However, any further information may be useful. As Shari and Cyrus, with the crowbar, attempt to open this door, are they capable of it? Once again, taking 20, they are capable of it. The DC in this place is 28. It does also recommend... Oh no, moving the character from the north, up to 4 characters can add their strength score together to move this wheel. So yes, everybody working together is able to work on this. What's it good? Taking 20, it takes a couple of minutes of effort, but eventually they are able to do it. However, the party will note, as the gear churns out of place, and you finally stop a moment to examine your efforts, you do note that the wheel begins to slowly revert back to its initial state, seemingly as if the design of it was such that it would close on any who would descend down into its depths, or close on the people that remain. I mean, the party's obviously going to panic, and Shari's going to throw her body up against it, try and resist this as best they can. Cyrus is then going to reach into his backpack and pull out maybe a 10-foot pole, maybe a kittens is the listed example. But the party will panic a little bit before coming up with a solution. Throw a couple of rocks in the way, some pittons, some stops, hammer those in, throw enough of them down, and eventually you'll get it. The party, of course, could just walk in and not worry about it. However, we are smart enough to know that there may be an issue coming forth, there may be an undead or some issue we're not capable of dealing with. We want to be able to make a hasty escape should bad things come to pass. We will make sure we have an easily accessible escape route. Okay. Further down, the next description. The square room is starkly devoid of any markings or adornment. In the center of the floor, a square shaft drops straight down into darkness. A faint musky odor rises from the pit. A single piton has been hammered into the stone floor by the northeast corner of the pit. A dusty length of rope dangles from the piton into the darkness of the shaft. Okay. Looking down over the walls, the construction of the pit seems to go down a fair distance. Those with dark vision are able to see it descends down 60 feet, as you can just barely see the bottom. However, if no one's capable or doesn't have dark vision, you can have someone cast light on a rock and toss it down, light up the floor. I think I'll do that regardless, just to see if anything's down at the bottom of the shaft. The rope, however, only extends about 5 feet before ending. Pulling the rope up, a quick examination with Shari being a little bit wary. The rope seems to have been cut at some point. However, the rope is thoroughly rotten and seems to kind of crumble as you are examining it. The piton also is odd. Best guess, Cyrus will say, probably related to whoever was interred here. Possibly whoever was, considering this shaft goes down 60 feet, maybe the pyramid was built, or the tomb was lowered in after the construction was finished, or possibly we're not the first people that have come here. It's hard to say at this point, but barring a basic rope, it's difficult to tell. Any multitude of reasons could explain this. Regardless, we'll pull out some rope and set up a new piton in the ground, hammer that in, make sure it's nice and secure, drop down, tie 2 links of rope together, drop it down in the pit, and begin descending again. Knotted rope, DC 5, braced against the roll, DC 10, which for the most part you're able to get down, and eventually make your way into the area below. Before you just let the entire party climb down the rope, you should check and make sure if there's anything down at the bottom of it. If there is, make sure that the party is going in order, but one at a time, descending down. Shari will have to go ahead and probably wrap Big Green and lower him down herself. Luckily, he is still of a size that a single person that a single person is capable of doing it. However, once you descend down into the room, mirrored images of the warrior in its side profile, face inward, are carved into an adorned pair of stone doors to the west of this room. Figures depicting wear padded armor with a scarab-shaped shield in his arm facing the viewer, and a raged khopesh held aloft in the other. A crumpled humanoid body lies directly in front of the doors. A hint of decay hangs in the air. A dried stain mars the stone floor under the body. A square shaft in the ceiling leads straight up into the darkness. Again, another note. Most room descriptions will often include the entrance you just came out of. Not every room is going to have a single entrance, so it's just going to list all of them as appropriate. I don't know some way to scroll to the side. Oh, there we go. Shift plus scroll wheel goes left and right. I'm used to this Roll20 has changed a little bit, so let's go ahead and examine the room. The fact that there's a corpse in here is very disconcerting. The ceilings do seem to be 10 foot high, because it says the shaft go 50 feet up, which means there's a 10-foot gap between the shaft and this room opening. The body seems to be mostly skeletal. However, we can go ahead and make a heal check to see if we can glean any more information. Is anybody trained in heal? I think Shari might have been trained in heal. She is, yes. She'll go ahead and roll that. She got an 18. It seems to be some sort of human male, a male human half-elf of some sort. Seems to have died down here, however, the legs both being broken seem to indicate what happened, or what may have transpired. Best guess, maybe the rope snapped. Maybe the rope was cut. Hard to say. It's simply broken legs is what caused the death. They weren't able to get out. They were stuck down here and presumably starved to death or succumbed to their wounds before then. Most of the gear has been lost to decades of rot. However, a quick search over the body yields a couple of metal pistons, a usable hammer, as well as 2 vials of an unknown liquid. This is where we acknowledge alchemy to try and identify what these are. None of our people are trained in craft alchemy, however, we can all roll. An 18 is probably enough to identify. This is a relatively common item. This is an alchemist's fire. Alchemist's fire being similar to the acid flask that most of the party is equipped with. However, if they are successfully hit the target, there's a chance that they will catch fire. There's also a little blurb on the side here about ancient Osiriani. The languages are closely connected, with Osiriani being a precursor to modern Osiriani, differing mainly in the vocab. The change mainly took place gradually once the Kelishite overseers happened, approximately 3,000 years ago. Modern era of Pathfinder is 4,700, 47-ish. The best way to do it is, I believe, the modern year is... It's either 47 plus the years after 2000, or 46 plus the years after 2000. They try and make the math nice and easy. Much of the language has been lost. Same cannot be said of modern speakers communicating. The tombs of Necropoli and other ancient Osiriani sites mention hieroglyphs referred to ancient Osiriani. Contemporary Osiriani uses a much more simplistic form of hieroglyphics. Speakers cannot automatically read the language, however, because of the similarities between the languages, speaker modern Osiriani can decipher ancient Osiriani with a successful DC 20 linguistics check. A character who knows neither may attempt a DC 30 linguistics check to decipher the hieroglyphs. So it is possible without it. I assume that they are allowed to make this check untrained, assuming the linguistic check untrained if they speak Osiriani. But that's something to keep in mind, is that it is technically possible. Taking a look around, we will go ahead and push open the doors. They are, once again, not locked, but they are stuck shut in such a way that it will require a strength check, this one being much easier than before. The great walls of this 10-foot wide corridor feature bas-relief carvings of great battles. Armies with spears and shield clash at directions of the general, while other soldiers direct troops from chariots with ruthless overrunning their enemies. Engraved stone double doors stand at either end of the hallway. Now, I'm going to go ahead and check for traps. There are a couple of ways you could do checking for traps. I'm going to go ahead and have Gamu take 10. And lo and behold, there is a trap in this corridor. There are a couple of ways to do it. You could have the GM says that every time you want to roll perception, you have to tell me and roll. That makes things easy. Or that makes things a little bit annoying, because every single time you kick open a door, assuming there's some vague indication that traps may exist, then you will then have to then roll in perception, and they'll be saying the results, and it's just going to be complicated. So usually what happens is I will say, if the players are regularly checked for, as a player will say, I'm going to regularly check for traps. I take 10, here's my result, or I am going to check for traps. If it's relevant, tell me to roll, or you can roll secretly. My perception bonus is it's +6, +10, +11. Whatever perception bonus happens to be, let the GM roll it, let the GM take care of that. That way it doesn't interrupt gameplay. Or for this, Gamu is going to take 10 for a 21, and everybody's going to be looking for traps because we're expecting them. But it'll be the GM's prerogative to ask the players to roll for traps. Just whatever makes things less complicated. So we found a trap. Let's go ahead and try and disable this. It'll be Cyrus coming up forward. We can go ahead and determine where the trap is. It looks to be pressure plate in front of the western door seemed to trigger it. So we actually have a fair amount to go through. Probably this 5x10 area in front of the doorway here. So we're going to have him kind of come into the hallway here, because we know that area is safe. What you get for identifying a trap. You know what type of trap it is, mechanical or magical. You know approximately what the trap will do, where the triggered area is, and where you can disable it, or / how you can disable it. Of note, if a trap exists, it is possible to disable it from the outside. There are almost never a trap that you cannot disable without bypassing in some way. If it's a pressure plate, you may have to jump over the pressure plate to get to the other side. But players should be able, with relatively minor difficulty, be able to get to an area to disable the trap. For example, this one, we probably just have to either maybe clog the holes, maybe cover them in some way. Maybe we can pull up the stone for the pressure plate and snip the wires. Regardless, everybody else is going to stay back, and Cyrus is going to attempt to disable the device. He got a 24. That is successful. Disable the trap. Nice and easy. Things go well. Once again, a feature to keep in mind: if you fail the disable device, not the end of the world. However, if you fail by 5 or more, the trap is triggered. This can mean that lost my train of thought there. It'll mean the trap is triggered. If you are in the area of effect, then you will be affected by it, obviously. However, it is entirely possible that you are outside of the area of effect. For example, if we were somehow able to open these doors from range, jump over the trap, and then disable them from this side, it could be possible for you to get out of the area of effect. For the most part, it is assumed that if you are disabling the trap and you fail, you are in the area of effect. So the only way to disable this trap is probably to clog these holes, so Cyrus would have been it. However, the trap has now been disabled. We are good to continue moving forward. Let's go ahead and push open the next set of doors. Go ahead and get a drink before I go forward. And a throat lozenge. faded tapestry hangs on the wooden frame in the western wall of this chamber. Faded and delicate, the tapestry depicts a middle-aged man accompanied by a woman and 2 children, with a small estate in the background. Beside the tapestry are 2 small pedestals, upon which sit 2 dead and preserved animals. Stone devil doors exit the chamber to the north, south, and east. Okay, we're going to do a quick perception check for traps. Taking 10, do not notice any obvious traps. Again, it is on your players' prerogative to not metagame traps. For example, if you all roll perception, you all roll terribly. Your players do believe they've done the best they can. You don't just automatically get a new check because you're like, oh no, I don't think I did a very good job. You think you did a great job, you just didn't find anything. So there'll be times when you can say, hey, party, can you make a perception check? Bad rolls happen, you go, okay, yeah, you're good to keep going. That floor is definitely made of floor. So, taking a look around the room, we will step into the room once we've determined that it is safe to do so. We do need a linguistics check. This is beyond the just general knowledge that may exist. Let's go ahead and just do. Got a 19 with a tease. She is able to determine, probably with the help of the rest of the party, that with the symbols and hieroglyphs, along with them speaking ancient Osiriani, some of these symbols seem to represent maybe Akintepi, his family, and maybe some of his bloodline, his kids maybe. Maybe some sort of tragedy befell, possibly murders or sickness, and the man himself was left widowed. A further check. This will be a knowledge local check, which only Cyrus is capable of making. With guidance. Once again, every check should be at a +1, assuming you have time with guidance. It will achieve the 15 result. Family's tomb was... The family is probably interred somewhere else, and this tomb is probably prepared much later, after Akintepi's successful military career. So his family passed away young. He threw himself into work and decided that he became successful enough to build this tomb on his own. Decided he wanted to live separately from his family. Mummified animals on the pedestals seem to be mummified cats. Let's go ahead and make a heal check. See how they died. Unfortunately, it is difficult to tell. The age and degradation of the bodies, though preserved, apparently Shari is not familiar with cats. But it's not uncommon, we do know, that slaves and other, I guess, animals to be interred with the owner. Slave servants and all that, it is believed that they will pass on with the owner. They drank poison or something similar and were interred not far outside. This is what I know from Egyptian lore, and possibly the average person who lives in Osirian to understand. Now we'll go ahead and jump in front of the next door. Or way here. Again, if they say they are checking for traps, it is generally assumed the party is checking the entire room for traps. That includes the floors, the ceilings, the doors, going in and out. So they don't need to check for traps again. They can listen onto the door to see if there's anything on the other side. But for right now, I'm not going to worry too much. We're going to go ahead and kick open this door. There are a couple of ways to do exploration. You can kind of just do what your heart feels is right. You can say, we're going to try and find the boss room first. Or what I prefer to do is kind of pick one direction. For example, in this case, we're going to say right. We're going to always kind of try and stick to the right wall if given the option. Or whichever direction makes sense. For example, this map, we know we're kind of starting on the right side. Just to make it easier on the GM, I'm going to kind of stick following this right area over here and going left, because it's sometimes annoying as a GM to kind of jump back and forwards and back and forwards. Anything that you can do to make your GM's job easier is nice. So we'll open that door, see a staircase, go, that looks trapped, look for traps. We're not going to find anything, so we're going to go ahead and proceed to the next doorway. Opening the door, a brightly painted chariot sits on top of the chamber, or on top of the center of this chamber. Beyond the chariot, a large canvas is stretched between two stone columns. Several skins of animals, antelope, great cats, crocodiles, now faded with decoration and age, are tacked to this canvas. The wooden chest, lacquered in white, trimmed with gold inlay, sits in the southeast corner. Each corner of the room, a small stone shield is molded on the masonry at shoulder height. Open hallway leads to the east. A set of stone double doors leads south. Okay, once again, taking a look around the room for traps. We will note, specifically Agamu and anybody else who rolled similarly high, will note that the chest seems to be locked and trapped. We do need to be a little bit careful of that. Seems to be a chariot of some sort. Looks quite nice. What is it made out of? Brightly painted, so probably wood. Probably has maybe the paint will help preserve that sort of thing and help a little bit better to time compared to a lot of the other things. Use of this vehicle, however, is dubious at best. The skin's age worn doesn't seem to have much value. But we will go ahead and try and click open the trap, which we're going to go ahead and roll the disable device. Again, this will be rolled at an additional +1 because of guidance. Lo and behold, this man failed miserably. Which means he is going to be attacked. So we GM roll 1d20. This is the kind of trap that is attacking him. That will successfully hit him. The trap is attacking with +10 against his armor class. Normally it would be flat-footed armor class for most traps. However, he is aware the trap exists. So at this point, I would allow it to go against his normal armor class. He'd probably put on some gloves and whatnot. It makes sense. So it is going to do 1d4 plus 1 points of damage. 4 plus 1. Going to do 2 points of damage. And he will need to make a fortitude save, as whatever this needle is seemed to be quite bad. He got a 21 as his result, which means he successfully saved against the poison. And everybody's going to give the trap another once over, and it looks like the trap seems to have been a one and done. So whatever that spring-loaded little poison blade is, it is possible to reset it. However, it is a manual reset, so it's just going to take time. As for the chest itself, he will take 10 on, he will fail, spend a few minutes taking 20 on it, and eventually get it unlocked. Of note, the DCs for some of these traps are a little bit hardy on these first time. Now, HP. 2 HP is a lot of HP at first level. However, it's not necessarily worth spending our very, very limited use healing magic items right now. So, at the moment, we are simply going to hold off on healing. However, if he was missing even one more, I would probably heal him up. Once you get higher up in level, missing a little bit of hit points here and there is not the end of the world, but low level it is. So, the chest is beautiful, and if it's undamaged, it's valuable as an art piece. A praise check could tell you that. The problem with appraise is that it doesn't always give a list. It almost never gives a listed DC. See if appraise. A DC 20 appraise check determines the value of a common item. If you see by 5 or more, you determine if the item has magical properties. If you fail your check by less than 5, determine the price within 20%. Okay. So a DC 20 appraise check is all that's required to identify the rough value of an item. 15 will give you just a loose. So between all our various people rolling, someone probably identifies it's worth about 200 gold pieces. It contains 3 different potions. 2 of them seem to be of a similar make. We'll go ahead and go over to whoever is capable of making spellcraft checks. The answer is nobody. However, specifically for potions, you are able to use perception to identify potions. So make perception checks. It is harder to do than a normal identifying magic items. Usually for identifying magic items, it is DC 10 plus caster level. So, for example, these are Cure Light Wound potions. Relatively common. A perception check would be able to identify them. We've encountered them before. They taste very similar, if a bit aged. And the other one will be a potion of dark vision. Dark vision allows you to see in the dark. Beyond that, there are some metal two books with thin gold-plated metal pages for instead of parchment. First is a brief biography. Skimming through it without reading much, it seems to be a biography of the Akintepe, and the second seems to be a description of various military campaigns uh, enacted during the early to mid 2300s, or early to mid 2000s. The books are very heavy, however, they do have some value to them. Of note, well, we can go ahead and take an attempt at it. Using our appraise, we do determine that the chariot does have some value. However, it is going to be very difficult to try and move. So we're going to have Cyrus do a quick craft check. Okay. Spending a little bit of time and effort, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, he is going to take off the wheels, detach the front poles, and make it so it's possible to fit up that opening. Being very, very delicate, he'll take some time to do so. However, beyond that, probably before we even fully explore this, we will go over here and see if there's anything going on in this room to the right. 4 funerary masks hang on one wall of this short hallway, staring down as if in judgment of anyone standing in the... Okay, so maybe we stand back a little bit. Judging anybody standing in the corridor. Taking a quick look. Seems to be some form of trap, however, we don't find anything. From east to west, they represent a couple of various gods. DC 10 knowledge religion checks, anybody can make that. However, the harder ones are going to be more skilled checks required. Once again, knowledge guy is probably the only one who's going to regularly roll great knowledge checks. A 22, he and possibly a Gamu are going to recognize from west to east that depict Phrasma, Abadar, Sakmet, and Osiris. The latter two gods, goddess of war, the ancient Osiriani goddess of war, and the god of the afterlife, respectively. However, each of the gold masks does have some value, which we will go ahead and loot. Peeking into this room over to the right. Table displaying a three-dimensional diorama occupies much of the north side of this room. 3 shields with different designs are displayed upon a rack in the east wall, while various weapons hang from another rack in the southern wall. Arranged around this room are 5 small chests and a clay urn. However, it just so happens that as soon as a creature larger than tiny size enters this room, some dolls will begin to get up and move about. We'll go ahead and use the animated armor for our dolls. However, they are tiny size, which means they are sized as a quarter. Presumably on this table is what I think they will be. You have to hold down the Alt key, however, if you want to not have any problems. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and do this the quick and easy way. I'm going to go ahead and add turn. You have to open the initiative tracker, though. And then I'm going to roll 1d20. Of note, you can just press up, enter. Okay, Agamu is +0. Atis is +7. Cyrus is +2 or +3? I remember this as time goes on. He's +3, so Cyrus got a 4.01. I will just put it as a 4 for now. 4.01. Shari is +1, or 4.03. Shari got a 6. Apparently we were very much not on the ball today. And these are warrior dolls. I have the stat block in the book here. Also a picture of them, if we want to go ahead and take a quick look at that. Can I pull up a second snipping tool? Nope, I have to use the same one. Okay. So, here's a quick look of what they, here's a quick appearance of what they look like. They seem to be made of wood. But otherwise, exactly what you'd expect. Now let me go ahead and scroll back up and re-grab the map. Okay, these guys are +2 to their initiatives, which means they're probably going to get to act quite early on in the initiative tracker. Goodness gracious. Okay. We're not ready for those dolls to animate. So, they're going to spring to life. These dolls, however, have no intelligence to them. They also have no reach. Tiny-sized creatures natively do not have reach. So, I see 3 creatures, the Rider, the Dinosaur, and Cyrus. Because they're unintelligent, they are going to go ahead and attack just kind of a random enemy that entered the room. We're going to go ahead and roll 1d3. It'll be going top to bottom, Shari, Big Green, Cyrus. They're attacking Big Green, or at least this one is. He's going to come into here. Let's go ahead and put them to front. Now, normally, this would not cause an issue. However, as a player character, your token is always going to be defaulted to the front, which means I need to go ahead and... It'll be fine for now. We'll remember that this is underneath her square. So it's going to jump off the table. It's probably going to need some sort of... Well, no, he probably just holds off the edge and drops down. Maybe using this little crate here. Using his 30-foot move speed, he is able to easily get over there. He is going to try and stab at Big Green. Okay, Big Green, what is your flat-footed armor class? Your flat-footed is 17. Means we're going to go ahead and attack. He will miss Big Green. Next up is going to be another one, who is similarly going to try and roll randomly to see who he's going to attack. He's going to attack Big Green as well. Possibly he seems to be the most interesting against these opponents. Okay, that will be a 17 to hit, which we know will hit Big Green. Okay, now we go ahead and roll damage. It is only a D3 points of damage, however, luckily for us. So 2 points of damage to Big Green. Which will go ahead and... You can open your character sheet, you can change the number here. Or, again, you can use your token. The token's up in the corner. I'm not going to worry about it. Finally, next up, Atis is going to go. First question, what are these things? Let's go ahead and have Atis try and attempt to roll. Is a knowledge arcana check, however, that is not going to work. I'm not trained in knowledge arcana. Well, these are little dull things, maybe constructs. Might be a safe bet. I'm going to attempt to acid splash them. It's going to be very, very difficult, of course, but it is better than doing absolutely nothing. I will miss horribly with a sum total of -5. Let's keep in mind, I'm taking a penalty because they're in cover, because I'm shooting through allies. I'm also taking a further -4 penalty because I'm attacking into melee. I'm also going to go ahead and back out. So we spread out a little bit and maybe don't have to worry so much. Next up, once again, 3 valid targets. This time this person is going to attack Cyrus. Of note, 4 tiny-sized creatures can fit in a normal single creature space. Go ahead and roll, get a 16 to hit. Cyrus's flat-footed AC is probably nowhere near that. I think he was like 15, flat-footed of 12. Which means I will successfully hit and do 1 point of damage. Nice and easy. Finally, Agamu has no way to identify what these things are. So, we are going to go ahead and start with backing up and just shooting it with a crossbow, because you don't have a whole lot. This is a pretty common problem with and it's going to be a pretty common problem in low-level games, specifically because your mages can't mage at low level. They're really ineffective. They can maybe magic missile, but it's pitiful damage. So You just hope for the best. Running out there. Next up, Shari. Shari can't use either of her weapons, so she's probably going to draw a dagger, because these guys are right on top of her. And she is going to attempt to attack. Fortunately, Cyrus is not giving flank, but her dinosaur is, because they are... If you are inside a creature square, you're considered flanking with everybody adjacent to them. However, two creatures, both Shari and her dinosaur, are in the square, so we are flanking the dinosaur. Or we are flanking the creatures we are attacking, giving us a +2 to hit. Possibly additional bonuses. So first up, Big Green. Let's go ahead and have you bite one of the constructs. That will fail. You also have your Tail Slap, which you will then try. You'll successfully Tail Slap them. One of them, let's say this top one, for 8 points of damage. However, this creature seems to have some sort of defense. Seems to be particularly difficult to attack. So only 3 of those are... You don't say how much. I usually say some of your damage... not all of your damage went through, is what I'll say. You did 3 points of damage, so I'm counting up instead of counting down at this point. Shari will drop her weapon, draw a dagger. Let's go ahead and get a dagger attack set up. Most people will have a dagger on hand, even if they don't have one in their character sheet. I'm not too stickler. A dagger is like 2 gold pieces. Okay, so dagger. Unfortunately, you cannot two-hand a dagger, so it's just going to be a melee attack. It is a 19 to 20 times 2 crit range. 1d4 points of damage, plus strength. And this is going to be a slashing weapon. And when you throw a dagger, it's piercing. When you swing it, it is slashing. I'm going to swing my dagger. Unfortunately, do a tiny bit of damage, but not a whole lot. So, we are going to 5-foot step away, just in case. And then we're going to end our turn. Meaning it is Cyrus's turn. Cyrus is going to attempt to identify what these things are. He is going to attempt a knowledge check. Specifically, knowledge arcana. Okay. These things are from the original bestiary, Warrior Doll. That gives me kind of an indication that, while I've not encountered these things before, they are not horrifically uncommon. Maybe a 15 plus their CR. Their CR is 1/2, so it's a DC 11. To identify these things as Warrior Dolls. Tiny, neutral tiny constructs by default. Again, things can have different alignments to their base creatures. Usually not unintelligent things, but the average ASMR tends towards good. You can be any alignment as an ASMR. It doesn't necessarily mean some things. But more often than not, you're able to get a pretty good judge of those factors. So, identify that. I get 1 question. Here are some different questions you might try and ask. Special defenses. Special attacks. Special abilities. Weaknesses. High save. Low save. Languages. Senses. If they have a feature, for example, a poison, you can ask specifically what that poison does. Or if you identify something with special attacks or defensive abilities, you can ask specifics about that. In this case, I'm going to ask about special defenses. So I will know they have immunity as per construct trace, which gives them immunity to a bunch of different effects. And they have some hardness. Specifically, they are made of wood, so they have wooden hardness. So I'm going to have Cyrus go ahead and 5-foot step back. And he is going to lob a bomb. These guys are in these squares. Now, I can't select out an area with my bombs as of yet. So I am just going to attempt to lob it kind of right in this square. Of note, you have to target... With bombs, you target bombs and other splash weapons, you target a square. Spells, however, you target a corner, an intersection. That'll help you determine radius. So if we go to here, we go to our line... Where's our line tool? Here it is, our ruler. We can go ahead and do circle. Do a 5-foot radius. This is our splash of our bomb. So, I'm throwing a bomb. Everything that is within that area of effect is entitled to a will save. Let's go ahead and go over to Cyrus. I keep wanting to call him Cypress. If we go to his Alcahest bombs, because keep in mind, his Alcahest bombs are fully effective against constructs and corporeal undead. Let's go ahead and make a weapon note. What is the DC is going to be 10 plus half level plus Christmas. So DC 14 negates. And it is going to be minimum damage of the bomb is 5 damage. No, 6 damage. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this. I'm aiming for AC 5, because all I'm doing is targeting a square. Each of these creatures are now entitled to a reflex save. You look at the reflex save, and you roll a d20 for each of them. It looks like 2 saves and a fail. So, this guy will save and take nothing. This guy will save and take 6 points of damage. Or this guy will fail a save, take 6 points of damage. That will finish him off. And this guy down south will save and take nothing. Which is rather unfortunate. But that is 1 mark off our bomb total. Now then, these guys are smart enough to know they took damage. They're smart enough to know what they took damage from. They took damage, even if they're unintelligent. Sometimes they'll have tactics. These ones don't have any special tactics. So they will continue to attack whoever they either attacked or did the most damage. So I'm going to attack what did the most damage for me, which in this case was Big Green. It also happens to be the thing he was attacking before, so no big deal. Okay, that will miss. Atis is going to attempt to once again shoot a ray of goo at the northernmost individual. 21 minus 8 is going to be 13. 13 touch will still miss, which means you have to roll a 20 to be able to hit. Very unfortunate, but it happens. Okay, next up is this guy down south. This guy down south was attacked by Cyrus, so is going to attempt to attack him back. We do fail to attack. Again, we have a Gamu and the lads. Crossbow is going to miss. Next up is Shari, who's going to attempt... We're going to have Shari go first with her dagger. 16 to hit. Will miss, so do no damage. And then we'll have the Big Green try and make some attack rolls. That bite will successfully take care of the one that is injured. And then we will go ahead and attack with our... We already said we're full attacking. We can stop a full attack, but we cannot do it. We do not regain our action, so we're going to make a bite attack. Successfully hit this guy and do 14 points of damage, which will be enough to finish him off. Okay, with that, the encounter is over with. You can go ahead and close out this. Now, before we do anything else, we have 2 party members to enter, Cyrus and Big Green. I'm going to go ahead and have a Gamu channel to heal. He has 1,000,000 of these, and is capable of only hermiting undead and healing his allies, so he's going to go ahead and channel heal. It's going to do 5 points of positive energy damage, healing everybody back up to full. Big Green is going to back up to full as well. Just in case. So, looking around this room, luckily none of it was damaged, there's no big... It is important to note, you do have to be a little bit wary of splashing with AoEs. Throwing a fireball in a room like this is not a great idea. However, my bombs are specifically to try and deal with specific enemies. Yes, it does acid damage, but as long as you're a little bit careful, for the most part, unless it says you're going to be destroying loot, don't worry about destroying loot. Now then. Most of the armors on this place, armor and weapons on the racks, are mundane items. However, the Kopesh and Spear do seem both to be masterwork in quality. A composite short bow is still serviceable, but though its string is deteriorated, it must be replaced before the weapon is used. And then finally, there is a steel shield that is currently glowing with magic. However, none of our party members are capable of identifying it, so we will just put that in our backpack for now. However, should you be capable of identifying it, you're looking for a 15 or 10 plus this caster level of the item. No, sorry, it is 15 plus the caster level of the item to identify what the object does. If you successfully identify it, you know everything it does. However, if the object is cursed, I don't know if this item is cursed or not, you have to exceed the DC by 10, unless the item states otherwise, to identify that the object is cursed. Otherwise, you believe it to be a inherently way more useful item. So I can go ahead and take a quick look down here and see what the item is. Okay. It is a big shield with a scarab on it. We saw the depiction of that earlier. Go ahead and scroll back up. I will give Agamu the Masterwork Spear, because no one else particularly needs it, and the Kopesh. Let's go ahead and Google what a Kopesh does. I'm fairly certain that that is a exotic weapon. It is considered an exotic weapon. We'll go ahead and give it to the person who can carry it to hold on to, but I'm not expecting much. The chests in here are of good craftsmanship, though less ornate than the one found in the previous room, and none seem to be trapped according to what the party is capable of ascertaining, though each of them are sealed with wax. We'll go ahead. Do we want to... Would I want to crack the wax, or would I want to melt the wax? Atis will recommend melting the wax. So we'll go ahead and melt the wax. I don't know why. The rest of the party doesn't know why. However, Atis is thinking, the rest of these parties are good people. They might not know. But it is common when making forgeries to try and use wax and other instruments dated to that period of time. Yes, melting it is not necessarily as good, but it may have some... ancient Osiriani wax may have some value to us later down the line. I'm not expecting anything out of it, but it also may be helpful in keeping the place, or keeping whatever the contents are, sealed. Maybe something is important with wax, I don't know. But it takes time, and since we're not particularly in a rush, we'll just spend the effort and time to melt it. Looking inside, there seems to be a pile of gold. Of note, the unfortunate thing about Pathfinder and Piezo's first-party source, they like including gold pieces, silver pieces, copper pieces, platinum pieces, all sorts of different loot. Convert it all to gold. Round to the nearest gold piece if you're really all that worried. You can use decimals if you want to. Just make it all gold. Everything's calculated in gold, except for loot piles. Don't worry about it. So there's some gold pieces and scrolls. You also find some scroll tubes holding various records. Well preserved, because it seems to be an airtight scroll tube. Delicately looking over it. Seems to be private memos, expense ledgers, speeches, private correspondences. There seems to be discussions of an unfinished tomb relating to Aghentepe's mistress. Little else of value in the papers. However, to an Osirianologist, this may have some value. The clay urns are also sealed with wax. We will go ahead and we'll stack them up by the chariot. It's probably we're not gonna carry them around. They're made of clay, a little bit delicate. Usually you don't have to worry, especially once you get a bag of holding and whatnot, about carrying stuff like this around. But for now, we'll leave it over by the loot pile. Next up, we can go ahead and retreat ourselves. We'll continue looking around to see if anything is of value. We're not seeing anything at the moment. Let's go ahead and kick open this door, realize that there is in fact another stairway, realize that there is nothing further, and continue further south. We're going into the next room, making sure my room numbers are correct. A massive mirror stretches across the southern wall of this chamber, flanked by two statues. The statue to the east depicts a tall, gaunt woman in a flowing hooded gown, holding an hourglass. The figure to the west is a jackal-headed man carrying a scepter or staff of some sort, and stone double doors stand slightly ajar, lead east and west. A third set of double doors exit the room to the north. Portals sculpted in the shape of bird skulls are built into each corner. A thin layer of dust covers every surface. Okay. Taking a look around, it doesn't seem to have any obvious traps that we can see. However, we are entitled to a survival check. Go ahead and have Shara make it, though everybody else in the party will be assisting her. Luckily, she is not in need of it. DC survival checks. There is some evidence of cracks in the dust going from east to west. It seems to be some sort of animal, a vermin of some sort, maybe a bug. Difficult to note, but it's inherently not humanoid, and it seems to be more a point, maybe a long line. It's not a typical animal's feet, is what it comes down to. Beyond that, looking around the room, looking into the mirror, since we now know that there is nothing inherently problematic, Cyrus will take a look in the mirror. It seems to be reflected back, along with anything else, seems to be a likeness of Akintepi. Depicted elsewhere, he seems to have bronze skin, being in his 40s, wearing white ceremonial robes and a headdress. He was disapproving in some way. Continuing to stare at it, maybe trying to ascertain some more information. Unfortunately, Mr. Cyrus is gonna need a fort save. Something bad seems to happen as he's been staring too long. He is able to hold himself off, but he feels ill looking at this for an extended period of time. So he is going to avert his gaze and inform the party. As he will note, though, the words arise in hieroglyphs on the mirror where he was staring, word that says thief, etched onto his own forehead. However, he's able to ward it off and is able to resist the thing from becoming more permanent. Interesting. Taking a look around the room, you can identify the various creatures in the room. Once again, we've identified Anubis, we have identified Pharasma. Those are the two creatures indicated. Beyond that, it doesn't seem to have much of value. We are going to go ahead and light the torches in the corner as we've been doing as we've come through here. I would be much more worried about lighting up torches if the big stone slab slid back into place. However, because we intentionally opened it up, and no one else is supposed to be coming down here, we'll go ahead and continue lighting up this place, paying some respects to the people who came before, offering prayers to both Pharasma and to the various deities we've encountered, at least the good-aligned ones, or not-evil-aligned ones. Beyond that, we will go ahead and open this door to the right. Pillars line the walls of this rectangular chamber, interspersed with stone jackal heads extending from the wall. Stone altar, covered in a layer of dust, sits in the eastern end of this room. To the west, a set of stone doors stands slightly, well, very ajar now. Okay. We are going to go ahead and step into the room slightly. However, as we do, some things are going to pop out. If we go ahead and do a quick Google search, giant Glefugids. Actually ran into these things not too long ago. These are basically spider things that have big, sharp front claws. Somewhat nasty, not the end of the world. We will go ahead and drop them onto the map. Once again, a spider. We will use this spider, sure. There seems to be two of them at this point. They are small size, so still a 1x1. Let's go ahead and get the initiative going. As we continue to get into gameplay of this, we're going to do less and less just kind of generic initiatives. But as we're just starting out, I want to go ahead and do a fair few, just to make sure we're kind of understanding how initiative goes, how combat goes, my thought process going through these encounters. But once we get maybe finish this book, get closer to the end. Assuming we do continue through the rest of this book and the rest of the campaign. Once we get into later sessions, we're probably gonna these average encounters, unless something is particularly interesting about them. I might skip over them, maybe drain some resources here or there, but not worry about it too much. Okay, let's go ahead and /GM roll 1d20. 5, 6. Okay, top to bottom, we have 8, 13, 23. Shari is a 10. And these guys here, we should probably use Archives of Nethys. First party source, these guys are +2. We have a 21 and an 18. So, first up is Cyrus. Let's go ahead and try and identify what these things are. These are vermin, so that will be a knowledge nature check. Unfortunately, he doesn't have knowledge nature. Traded out for knowledge local, so he has no idea. Spiders. Spiders of some sort. We're going to go ahead and... Do I want to throw a bomb? How many bombs do I have? Actually, don't remember. Let's go ahead and search Alchemist. I believe I am quite limited. 3 plus int. Off the top of my head. 10 plus half level plus intelligence modifier. Points, 20 range. Very easy to throw. Most alchemists creates... How many bombs can you create in a day? It's not telling me. Okay, let's go to this bad boy. Class level plus int modifier. There we go. Okay, I just was reading it incorrectly. So, we only have 5 bombs. As it were, and we've already consumed one. So we're not going to consume another right now. We are just going to go ahead and attempt a crossbow shot and then back up. That is a good amount of damage. 20 is almost certainly going to hit. Yes, easily. And it's going to have 13, so it's going to have 4 HP remaining. Okay, and then we're going to very much back up. Okay, next up. How smart are these things? They're vermin. They are unintelligent, so we're just going to attack the nearest thing. It is going to be the lady and her dinosaur. So it is going to be lows will be dinosaur, highs will be... Sorry, low will be dinosaurs. There we go. So I can be consistent. We will go there, and the other one is similarly going to attack. These guys do not have pounce. They just have their bite and claw, so they're going to start with their bite attack. We'll do one at a time, but since they both act on the same initiative, I'll just save time. Oh no! Oh god! So, a nat 20 is a critical threat. You must then roll to confirm, which is to make another attack roll against armor class as per usual. Once again, Big Green has... the first one was attacking Big Green. What is the second one attacking? The second one is also attacking Big Green. So a nat 20 is an automatic critical threat. If you have weapons that are an additional... that have a crit range of like 18 to 20 or 15 to 20 with an improved crit range, you still have to hit the armor class of the individual. So, for example, if you're using a rapier as a wizard and you only like +5 to hit and the enemy has a 30 armor class, an 18 plus your 5 is not going to be a critical threat. However, if you have a +15 to hit against AC 30 and you roll a 15 or 18, you will critical threat. Roll normally, and if you hit, you do multiple damage. So, on a crit, you'll double this number. You'll basically double this entire thing. Double the d6 +1. Which we successfully did. So we crit and we hit. Means we're going to do 1d6 +1. So 2 hits will be enough to bring down Big Green. As Big Green has taken max damage. Holy crap. You're at -1. Which means the other attack will go into Shari. Shari, however, does need to make a skill or a ride check to try and stay standing. She successfully falls down and doesn't fall out of her saddle or doesn't fall prone. She is, however, hit for 6 points of damage. Luckily, no poison. That, however, was horrific. Okay, Atis. These are vermin, we believe. We identified them from their track, so probably mindless, which means we can't hit them with mind-affecting magic like a color spray. So we are going to Acid Splash. We're going to Acid Splash the injured one. Hope for the best. Of course not. No. Okay, Shari. You're going to 5-foot back and use your hammer. We're going to start with the injured one because we want to make sure that we are capable of finishing him off. 16 to hit for 15 points of damage. Well, it would have finished off either of them, but at the very least, we took down the one who injured Big Green heavily. And presumably killed it. So next up, Agamu is going to run to the back of the room and is going to cast Stabilize on Big Green. Big Green technically did need to make a Constitution save. See if he can stabilize. He did not, so he bled out 1 point, which means we need to lower him by a further 1. Okay. Cyrus gets to go again. We are going to go ahead and go to here and attempt to shoot Spider again. Actually, no, Big Green is on the ground there unconscious. We don't want to splash around with bombs. 21 for 5 points of damage. Got it. We're going to have 7 points, or sorry, 8 points left after that. And fortunately, we now get to full attack on Shari. There'll be a lot of attack rolls here. The giant boy is currently plus 3 to hit. Of note, the rend means if you hit with both claws, you do this much extra damage. If you don't know what a feature does, you can Google it. It's pretty easy to find. So, Shari should have an AC of 15, 15. So, one attack will hit for a d6 plus 1 damage. Hopefully not enough to bring you down. 6 points of damage. It is enough to bring you down. How lovely. Are you kidding me? Okay, Atis. Well, luckily, nothing's in melee any longer. Not taking any penalties to your Acid Splash, so you will hit and do a little bit of damage, but not enough to finish him off. Okay, Shari is unconscious and bleeding out. Make a con check. Will successfully stabilize, not taking any damage. Agamu. I would love to heal right now, however, healing seems to be dangerous. We are instead going to try and do some damage. Of note, I don't know Shari has stabilized, but at this point things are dire enough that I have to try and attack. Let's go ahead and go to... Oop, there's Agamu. I have so many tabs open right now. Okay, let's go ahead and shoot the crossbow bolt. 8 for nothing. Okay. Cyrus is also going to shoot a crossbow. And miss horribly. Okay, this creature is going to move forward and attack Atis as the next closest individual. And easily hits. Golly, these things are monstrous. Okay. Gonna 5-foot back. And launch a... Acid Splash. There we go, 3 points of damage from that. We just need somebody to hit with a crossbow. Not gonna be you. And it is not going to be... Hope it's Cyrus? There we go, 19 points for 6 points of damage. Okay. Now, Agamu is going to attempt to stabilize Shari. He's going to fail because Shari is already stabilized, so you know she's good or dead. One of the two. Gonna give her the once-over. She's not dead. Time to heal. Let's go ahead and pop some channels. Holy crap. That was a CR3 encounter. That was a very, very difficult encounter for first-level characters. Why they included it here, but... I mean, if you got a big beat stick, he should be able to swing them down in one hit, which we did. We swung them down in one hit. It just so happened that our first hit missed. So, what are you going to do? I think I just realized, did Big Green... No, Big Green didn't even get a chance to attack. That's what the problem was. Okay. So let's go ahead and go over to Agamu and roll some channel heal. Probably 2. We'll start with that. And heal everybody up 5. Is not near good enough. We'll pop another 1. 4. I think we're going to pop 1 more. Okay, everybody will be back at full. And we go to Big Green. Actually, Big Green will not be at full. He will be at 14 hit. Okay, so he'll be missing 1 hit point. Nope, he will be at full. He just healed. Okay, that was rough. That's sometimes why you need a bit more than one big meaty boy. Okay. Taking a look around this chamber, it seems to have someone embalmed within the top. Pillars line the wall. A stone altar covered in a layer of dust is the wall. So we check for traps, make sure nothing is there. We will go ahead and open this thing up as carefully as we can. So we probably do need a crowbar. Nope, nothing was happening here. There does, however, seem to be various embalming tools along the wall. So, just an altar of some sort, maybe a platform table, presumably where the things were embalmed. Taking a look around, we can go ahead and once again roll another knowledge religion check. I'll take 10 with guidance to achieve a result of 20. We recognize this as Anubis, another depiction of Anubis, patron of embalmers and guardian of tombs. The funerary mask on the wall depict him. They also function as torch holders. The glow eyes are alight. Successful survival check, which is very well disturbed, indicates that there was in fact a nest for those creatures, the giant things back there. We will go ahead and destroy the nest, just to make sure that nothing has been remove the desecration of this tomb. You can right-click and drag. I didn't realize that until... So, continue down this staircase here. Quick look to make sure I haven't missed anything at this point. No, I have not. Okay. Continuing forward. How much further do we have? A fair amount further. Fair amount further. So we'll go ahead and do one more room and then probably call it quits because my voice is beginning to hurt. So, a half flight of steps gradually descends the west down here. Halfway down the stairs, however, small holes and burrowed tunnels riddle what appears to be remains of the passage southern wall. Earth and sand have spilled over the collapsed masonry, covering the stairs with dirt and rubble. Stone doors engraved with a golden scarab, its wings open beneath a golden sun and stand at either end of the stairs. One of the eastern doors is slightly ajar, the room we were in before. Possibly where the creatures came from that we just fought. Let's go ahead and take a look around as we look to step into the room with a perception check. Opposed by this creature's stealth check. Now, there are a couple of different ways you can do stealth and perception. The way I like to do it is I like to have the creatures take 10 on stealth, unless they actively know that the PCs are very good at seeing perception. For example, if they've encountered them before, or they're representing an organization that the PCs are actively fighting. But for the most part, I just like creatures to have a 10 plus their stealth bonus. So, for example, this creature, which we're about to fight, has a stealth bonus of 7. So the DC to notice him is going to be a 17. Which means, as Agamu takes 10 and everybody else goes and rolls, I will go ahead and quickly do that for everybody. You will fail, but doing one of Cyrus and or Shari will succeed, and or the animal companion. You will succeed. Let's see if Big Green does as well. Big Green will succeed. And then we go into combat. There's going to be, let's go ahead and pull up a earth elemental of some sort. We'll use this because it looks slightly like mud. It's a large creature, which has its own can of worms. But how initiative works for this, what is called the surprise round. A surprise round happens when one or more parties are surprised, either the party PCs or the NPC. My thought is, as long as at least half the party succeeds on their perception check, I don't worry about a surprise round unless it's very specifically supposed to have one. The scenario really, really wants to have one. In this case, it's just a creature that was hiding. So, sorry, it's just a creature that was hiding. So more than half the party made a perception check. No surprise round necessary. During a surprise round, each creature is only allowed to make a standard action. Cast a spell, make a single attack, do a short range charge, that sort of thing. Let's go and add everybody to the initiative tracker and then start rolling some d20s. Fortunately, the party once again is not prepared for this combat. So you are 7, 9, 3. Gamu is at a 20. And the big bad guy is a special creature that is not native, is from the Tomb of Horrors. The Tomb of Horrors is a 3/5 / Pathfinder / third-party resource that's regularly referenced by the Piezo writers. This thing seems to be some sort of earthen creature made of sand and dirt and rock. So it has a +1 to its initiative, so it got a 14. So first up is going to be a Gamu, who's going to attempt to identify what this thing is. The answer is we have no idea. He can't identify it. Next up, he is going to attempt to shoot his crossbow at it. Actually, yeah, he'll attempt to shoot his crossbow. Of note, creatures that are tall, in the circumstances, large, tall, so creatures that are large, gargantuan, huge, all of that sort of nonsense. It's much easier to shoot them because they are standing over your compatriots. He's going to shoot above, also with the staircase descending. He's just going to shoot it without having any problems for cover. Go ahead and shoot his crossbow. He will miss horribly. This thing has an AC of 14. It is the creature's turn. Now then, it is going to 5-foot step out onto the staircase, and it has 10-foot reach, 5-foot reach. It is going to walk out on the staircase to here. It is going to attack one of the various creatures. It doesn't see anybody as particularly more threatening than the rest. So once again, we're going to roll our normal D3. Cypress, Shari, Big Green. It is going to attack Shari. It has a single bite. Odd, yes, for a giant creature of sand, but not that big a deal. It's +5 to hit. Means it will successfully hit. And we are going to do a lot of damage. Holy cow. Okay, -9. Next up will be a Tease. Tease has no idea what this thing is, so she is going to delay. Okay, Cyrus. Does Cyrus have knowledge planes? He does not have knowledge planes yet. He'll attempt to roll it anyway. Have no idea what this thing is. Tell Tease that it's probably not susceptible to her color spray, which is a mind-affecting thing, because it's just a pile of sand. So he is going to attempt to, I guess, stab it with his dagger. Or whatever weapon he happens to have equipped. Gamu, what do you have as a melee? Or Cypress, what do you have as a melee weapon? A Morning Star. You're going to attempt to hit it with a Morning Star. 9 will miss horribly, and that will be that. So Tease, now believing that she is unable, foolishly believing that her color spray is not going to work in this circumstance, is going to simply back up and launch some acid at it. The reason that I am attacking with a acid splash as compared to a crossbow is touch AC is generally much easier to hit than normal AC. Especially as you get higher and higher in level, things are going to have a much higher touch AC as compared to normal. Plus, it's just so much easier. So, -4 because we are in melee. That will cause that to miss. Next up, Shari and Big Green. Let's go ahead and start with Shari. We'll get a big old wallop with her Lucerne Hammer. 19 to hit for 15 points of damage. Will do some good damage. However, it is still standing. Next up will be Big Green, who's going to make a couple of attacks. 15 will hit and do 12 points of damage, finishing up the creature. So, what was not known about that, this was called a Sandling. Unfortunately, we didn't have knowledge planes to identify it, but as the GM, I can now inform you. It had DR5 bludgeoning, DR5/bludgeoning. It'll say a number / whatever it is bypassed by. So, for example, I attack with hammers and morning stars and tail slaps. Those are all bludgeoning weapons. If I was attacking with a sword, like a longsword that did slashing, I would take 5 damage off, similar to the hardness I encountered before. However, we had no way of knowing that it had DR bludgeoning, simply because every attack that successfully hit it was a bludgeoning weapon. This one also had vulnerability to water, which could have slowed it should you throw a bunch of gallons of water on it. But beyond that, we had no way of knowing that, because once again, just kind of toss our hands up in the air because of that. So, at this point, we're going to go ahead and do some healing. I believe we're going to have Agamu use his single target heals. He has prepared them today. He has prepared blesses today. He is going to spontaneously convert one of those blesses into a Cure Light Wounds. So /GM roll, or actually we can just roll this. 1d8 plus 1. He's going to roll minimum, so he's going to use his other casting as well. And roll maximum. So go ahead and add 9. That was a CR2 creature. So again, a challenging encounter for a party of first level. How the math works out is, if it is a CR of equal to your character level, that is an average encounter, you're expected to be able to deal with at least a half dozen of those every day. An encounter of your CR plus 1 is considered a hard encounter. It is going to make you use a fair amount of resources, and you're expected to struggle with this encounter a little bit. An encounter of your CR plus 2 is considered a deadly encounter. These are usually boss encounters, or created in such a way that is a little bit simpler. That against those giant spiders, that was a very, very difficult encounter. Don't know why they included that so early, but it did consume a lot of our magical healing. But Agamu is now out. But hello, welcome to the chat. Hope you're having a pleasant day. Okay, we're going to go a little bit further. Let's go ahead and go a tiny bit further. My voice can hold out a little bit longer, maybe 10 or 15 more minutes. So, checking the door for traps again, as per usual. We didn't see anything out of the ordinary when we checked earlier. We're going to go ahead and kick this door open. I say kick the door open. We're going to open the door softly. Look upon what is inside. Once again, we're being respectful around these various tombs. Tapestry hangs in the frame from the south of this wall in this large chamber, depicting an otherworldly vista where souls of the dead, shepherded by strange beings, enter an ethereal river, ambling through space towards a landscape dominated by an impossibly tall spire. Columns sculpted in the shape of Osirian warriors, wielding khopesh, stand in all 4 corners of this room. The floor is tiled in a white spiral pattern on black background. The spiral pattern is repeated on the stone double doors to the north, east, and west. So, taking a look around, we will note the iconography down on the ground. We identified earlier spirals. We're pictured of Pharasma, so likely this room has something to do with Pharasma. Unfortunately, we don't have knowledge planes, so we can't identify much more. We can go ahead and try and identify with knowledge religion. It'll be a difficult skill check. So a DC 20 may allow, or is going to allow Cyrus, since this is a reasonably common lore, this tapestry may be a artist rendition of Pharasma's domain, Pharasma's tower, where the souls line up and are judged after death. However, much more beyond that. Whatever those things are that are shepherding the souls, Phrasma's accomplices, maybe. We learned the word psychopomps earlier. It could be a psychopomp. We don't know much more than their name. So, doesn't seem to have anything much of value in this room. There are continue to be sconces around the corners. I will continue to, or Agamu will continue to light those up as he's been doing. He worships the god of the sun. But we have various options we can take as per doors. We don't know what, so I'm just gonna roll a quick die roll to determine which direction we're going. Okay, let's GM roll 1d20. 1 to 10 will be to the left. 1 to 20, 11 and higher will be to the right. We're going to the right, actually. Northward we go. Opening this next door, we do not find anything of immediate interest. However, the fact that there is another staircase, we check for traps. Taking 10 for a 21, don't find anything. Open the next set of doors, go, well, that is odd. So there's not this sort of double staircase. Maybe an airlock for some reason? Would there be an airlock? Who knows? Who knows? We continue forward before we go ahead and check for, again, checking for traps before we step into the room. Standard adventuring attire as we go ahead and open up this next door. Opening into a different room. About to say what the actual room was. Okay. The center of this room is a large octangular. The center of this large rectangular room is a raised square platform a few inches above the ground, with a stone pillar at each corner. A gold-trimmed sarcophagi sits in the center of the platform, flanked by 2 statues of humanoid beings with canine heads, each of whom holds an ankh in its crossed arms. Stone double doors exit the room to the north and south. One second while I read through this room description. A very detailed room description. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look around this room. Taking 10, and then we'll have everybody else roll. Very specifically being the one that is important. With guidances to go around, again, plus 10 or plus 1 on all d20 rolls. We will quickly note, first off, there seems to be a set of secret doors over to the west here, or over to the east here. And there also seems to be a set of secret doors going to the west. I'll go ahead and mark those on the map so we remember them later. Let's go ahead and mark with red. And use the freehand tool. Looking around beyond that, there seems to be some sort of switch. Over here in this corner here, there seems to be some sort of button, lever, switch sort of thing. Not exactly sure what it leads to. Presumably something important. Continuing to look around. There seems to be, goodness, all sorts of stuff. A number of pressure plates strewn throughout the room. However, noticeably around the edges seems to be safe. So stepping any further towards the sarcophagi, intelligence would indicate that if there's a trap around the room and the lever is accessible in that area, maybe the lever has something to do with it. And taking a look around, we then consult Cyrus. Cyrus, after being informed of what to look for, will say yes. There seems to be some sort of trap, mechanical in nature, maybe? That seems to lead down towards the main area, maybe tilting and doing damage. I don't know. I'm going to go call it the old 10-foot pole, step into the room a little bit, and fiddle with that switch at range till it knocks into position. Beyond that, I think the trap has been disabled. I, being Cyrus, thinks the trap has been disabled. Shari didn't see anything further. Agamo didn't even notice the trap, which is surprising. He's usually very on the ball about these things, but now that he looks at it a little closer, yeah, that trap does exist. Taking a look around the room. Okay, we've successfully bypassed the trap that I didn't expect you to bypass. Now we can come down here to the sarcophagi. Going to come down and take a look at it. Seems to be, presumably, with the man of the house. Whatever this tomb, Akabitepu. I'll get his name eventually. Akintepi. Seems to have been interred here. So we will go ahead and begin to hold open or push open the chest as bad things begin to happen as the chest begins to move. Go ahead and switch this back over to the right side. Need something for our sarcophagi. Do we have anything good? Particularly, we'll use this for our sarcophagi. Is medium, so we actually don't have to worry too much about it. The person that was opening it was probably Shari. Actually, it was probably Cyrus. An idiot. So we'll put it there as everybody goes ahead and rolls initiative. Okay, let's get some d20s going. 5. Luckily, it's one of the first times that finally don't have initiative where we're absolutely screwed. 12. Gamu is 2. Cyrus is 12. Peace is 22. And this construct is initiative 5. Okay. Atis is up first. I do not know what that thing is. Sarcophagi that's trying to attack me. Okay. Then we are going to shoot it with some acid. As much as it pains me to try and destroy these archaeological nonsense, that is important. So, we are above him on the stairs, so we do have a reasonably clear line of sight to attack him. We then have our attacking touch. So an 11 to touch will successfully touch him. However, this thing has a lot of hit points. Don't know that yet, but it seems remarkably undamaged after the little bit of attack it has taken. Next up is going to be Cyrus. Cyrus, once again, will look at that thing and go, that's another construct. Let's try and identify exactly what kind of construct. That's a tease. Let's go to the character that actually has Knowledge Arcana. Okay. Best guess, this is an animated object of some sort. It seems to be made of stone, so would likely have some hardness associated with it, but constructs are so... Or animated objects are basically objects that can be... animated objects. They're objects, yes. You get a certain amount of points based on the size of the object you animate that you then customize features for. So beyond knowing that it is likely made of stone and has some hardness, it's nearly... Oh, and of course it is a construct. It's hard to tell more than that. Okay, so I could throw another bomb. I think we will... Well, we're going to do just that. We're going to throw a bomb. And we're going to target the square behind him. Because we don't want to take any damage ourselves. So we're just going to hope we can hit AC 5. With our Alkahest bomb. We failed to hit AC 5 because we're taking a -4 because we're throwing through the bad guy. So -4, which means we are going to splash. We're going to learn about splash rules now. So, this was a square targeted. We then roll a d8 to determine where it splashes, going clockwise. So, let's make that a line again. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Oh, / roll 1d8. We rolled a 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Unfortunately, it's going to splash on all of us. Means we need some reflex saves. The reason why I try to do target squares early on. 16, you save. See if Shari and Big Green can save. Shari is not going to save, so you'll take minimum damage, which is 6. Ow! Bastard. Big Green is fine, though, so he saves for full. We also need the Construct to save. I'm assuming, being a giant, big, fat Construct, he's not going to be very dexterous in nature. That has proven very much to be the case. However, he is still remarkably uninjured, given what we just dealt with. Okay, Shari is going to start off by having Big Green make a couple of attack rolls. Oh, actually, I messed... I'm going to go ahead and explain. Hardness, how hardness works. Most constructs and other creatures, I mean, non-living creatures made of inanimate objects, or if you're sundering gear, breaking weapons, breaking armor, and stuff like that, you have to deal with hardness. There are a few ways you can rule hardness. For most weapons, it's just you take that number off the damage they deal, unless they have an adamantine weapon or a +5 weapon, in which case hardness is ignored. However, short of that, it's just you take the damage off. When dealing with elemental damage, for the purposes of enemies, you just take their hardness off of any elemental damage they take. So if they take 10 fire damage and they have 5 hardness, just take 5 off. The math is nice and simple. However, in specific circumstances, you are allowed to have the damage bypass their hardness. For example, acid. Most GMs will rule that acid damage bypasses hardness on stuff like stone and wood. Or, for example, if they are weak to something, for example, most wooden constructs are vulnerable to fire. Fire damage would then bypass their hardness. That is at GM's discretion, however. So acid damage in this case, I did allow it to bypass the hardness, just I forgot to explain that. No big issue with that. So Shari is going to attack with the dagger, apparently, because we are in melee range and we can't attack any further. And then Big Green will do the first couple of attacks. Tail slap, bite. We'll hit the tail slap, and I doubt flat-footed makes any difference. It does not. So, however, the tail slap will do less damage than we thought, of course, due to the hardness. And Shari is going to once again have problems attacking in melee using her dagger. We do 9 points of damage for 7 after R. We'll do that. Okay, Big Bad. Who did the most damage to me? The most damage to me was done by... Cyrus did the most damage to me, so he is the biggest threat in my eyes. He is also the one who attempted to open me. I'm going to make a couple of attacks against him, starting with a slam. I will miss, and I will nat 20 and then nat 1, so I do not confirm, but I do hit my bite. Do 1d6 plus 2 points of damage, and it has the grab feature, which means I automatically get to make a grab attempt against a creature of smaller than my size category. However, I have a special feature that's, or is it equal to my size category or smaller? However, so I am entitled to a CMB roll. I am +9 to grapple. So 2 plus against the CMD of Cypress, or your name is now Cypress. Sorry, Mike boy, but I'm gonna keep saying it. And so you have to live with your new name. Okay, so Cypress has a CMD of 12, which 11 is not good enough for. Barely, so he's barely able to make it. Just a little bit of damage in his eyes. Okay, Agamu is going to back up the stairs. And he, because he knows this thing is not living, is going to channel energy to heal. We go to, where is Agamu? Here he is. Go ahead, channel energy to heal. Everybody's going to heal 6 hit points, which is going to bring everybody back up to full. Okay, nice and easy. No danger there. Okay, Atis is going to 5-foot step up here. Of note, going upstairs, you cannot 5-foot step. It's double movement to go upstairs, so you cannot 5-foot up them. However, if you are at the top of the staircase, you may jump or you may go up. However, going from the bottom of the staircase onto the staircase is not a valid 5-foot. That's why Cypress didn't back up, or Shari didn't back up. So, Atis, once again, is above him, so she is going to attempt to shoot him with an acid splash. Not Shari, Atis is going to do that. And is going to miss quite horribly, because now it is considered in melee, because these both people have acted. Okay, Cypress, as I said, cannot 5-foot up the stairs, has a dagger. Throwing a ranged weapon is a very, very bad idea in melee, because that'll provoke an attack of opportunity. So, instead, I don't have much option, because I'm really not good with this Morning Star. I'm going to take the withdraw action. The withdraw action is a special action that takes a full round to do, with special exceptions. You may move up to double your movement speed, and you get during the first square of movement, you do not provoke attacks of opportunity. An attack of opportunity is an attack you make outside of your turn if an action provokes it. For example, moving away, drawing or drinking potion, making ranged attacks in melee, casting magic in melee without concentrating. There's a whole list of things that do it. However, Cypress is going to go ahead and come up the stairs here, get out of melee, be ready to throw bombs next round, and not cause issues. Next up, Shari, again, is going to... Her and Big Green are going to make some attack rolls. You're going to use your dagger to hit, but do no damage. So it looks like they have hardness 5. We now know that as players. And a couple of whiffs. Okay. I don't care. Actually, I do care who I attack. I'm attacking Shari specifically. There's a reason for that, but it's not obvious at the moment. I'll miss my slam and miss my bites. Okay. Agamu. Pulls out his crossbow and takes a shot. Actually, well, he already had his crossbow out. Will aim his crossbow and take a shot. Horribly, Atis. This is going to be a pretty common issue at low-level gameplays. It kind of devolves into a noodle fight. Because until you hit things, touch AC is 10, so that will touch even with the -8 or -4 penalty you're taking. A little bit of damage. Next up is Cypress, who will he's going to delay until after Shari. As I was saying, turns into a wet noodle fight because no one is capable of dealing great amounts of damage, especially through hardness. So it'll take a little bit of time for things to start working. So Shari and Big Green are going to make some attack rolls. Shari, once again, attacking with a dagger. Will miss horribly. Big Green will do some points of damage. We'll hit 1 successfully and do 9 points of damage. Next up, Cypress delayed. What delay does is you don't take your turn until you say, I want to come back into initiative. Noticeably, this is different than reading. I'll explain that in just a moment. But effectively, until you're not necessarily supposed to shift your initiative, but you say, I'm going to hop into delay, and at any time in between turns, you say, I'm coming out of delay. Your whole initiative shifts, so going forward, you're acting at your new initiative total, and you may take your full turn as normal. There's another option called a readied action. You may ready a standard action, so a single spell cast, a single attack, a single open the door, close the door, something along those lines. You give a condition for which it triggers. For example, if an enemy comes within range, if one of our party members fall unconscious, I'm going to heal them. So on and so forth. That will also shift your initiative. However, you will go before the triggering action. So, if your ready is, I am going to... When an enemy gets in range, I'm going to attack them. You get to attack first before the enemy gets to do anything else. That will shift your initiative. You'll go before the triggering action, so on. I think that's pretty obvious. For the most part, the difference between the two is you delay if you don't know when you need to take actions. You ready if you expect something to happen and you want to take a very specific action in place of it. For example, if something's flying down above you overhead, making swooping attacks, you need to ready to actions unless you can fly. Okay, Cypress. This time, however, he's going to throw a bomb at a much easier to locate score. So assuming he doesn't nat 1, should be fine. Didn't nat 1, did the minimum damage. The construct does need a reflex save, DC 14, which is not horribly high. He nat 20, takes something. Okay, Cypress, or the construct, will go ahead and attack Shari now. Both of those attacks will hit. The 1d6 plus 2, then another d6 plus 2. A total of 7 points of damage. And I have the grab feature, because I'm going to attempt to grapple you. I am plus 9 against Shari's CMD. Shari's CMD is 15, so I successfully grapple you. The grapple is a condition you apply. Luckily, Roll20 has just the straight-up grappled condition as an option in conditions. Go to set conditions, we go grappled. Reflect that. You take a -2 penalty to attack and a -4 penalty to your dexterity score. So effectively -2 to AC and certain saves. However, both the grappler and the grapplee do have the grapple condition. So this guy is technically easier to hit a little bit. Doesn't do anything else for now. But the lid of sarcophagi has got Shari in kind of a bind situation. Agamu doesn't have much else to do, so he's going to continue to kind of fruitlessly shoot his crossbow. Nope. Peace. Going to splash. That will successfully hit and do a tiny bit of damage. Now, next up is Shari in Big Green. Let's go ahead and have Big Green help out here. He'll slap. So hit and do 3 points of damage. Still not enough. However, that thing seems to be on its last legs. Cypress is going to once again throw a bomb. His second to last bomb here. He barely is... Oh my goodness, he is not good with these accuracy checks. However, it is still enough. Go ahead and roll the attack roll, or roll the dodge check. He fails to dodge, and thus is destroyed. The reason why I was so keen on grappling there is... this creature has the Swallow Whole ability. So, gains a Swallow Whole special feature. You can swallow a medium or smaller sized creature. Creature does not take damage, however, there's only enough air in the sarcophagi to last 3 rounds. At the end of the 3 rounds, you must hold your breath or attempt to suffocate. So it was a really cool sarcophagi eating people, trapping them inside. You must cut your way out, but you must first penetrate the hardness. Swallow Whole can only affect 1 creature at a time. Swallow Whole is just a feature. It has an AC, it has hardness, it has HP. If you cut your way out with a slashing weapon, you eventually break free. So, Shari probably would have been fine, because you can hold your breath for over a minute. But it was a cool little thing. But not altogether that big a deal. So, we do not have any further healing. However, there seems to be a lot of secret doors. It might actually be a time to retreat, rest, take a day to ourselves, and spend a little bit of effort here. So, we'll go ahead and spend a couple of channels. I have 3 channels left. So Agamu will go ahead and channel to heal probably. Gonna heal a total of 8 HP, which is 7, which is all we needed. I have 1 heal remaining. I mean, Atiste hasn't expended any spells, because we've not encountered anything we could spellcast on, that we know of. Cypress is almost out of bombs. Shari is in a sorry state. Though Shari is technically... I forgot you have healing as well. You have a couple of spellcasts that can get rid of the grappled condition. Yeah. She has 2 Cure Light Wounds a day. So actually, we probably could keep going, but given the severity of the encounter and admittedly I know how much is left, I think... Go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Too far. No, we'll keep going. Instead of using those channels, we'll have Shari use her Cure Light Wounds. I'm going to high roll this. 5 is probably enough, so we'll take 2 damage. And that is where we're going to be stopping for today. I hope you guys have a little bit of an indication about how combat works in Pathfinder. If you have any questions, feel free to continue asking. Post them down below. This was not really short. It was a long explanation. Combat will get faster as these guys level up, and we start encountering better enemies for our damage types. We just are not very good at killing things at first level. Agamu can barely hurt things. Atese can barely hurt things. Cypress can only hurt specific kinds of things sometimes if his dice decide to roll hot. Shari is really the only one who's capable of doing obscene amounts of damage. And this has been a rough early encounters. A lot of things with hardness. A lot of just overly CR'd encounters for our first level thing. Luckily, with some early advice, I knew ahead of time about hardness problems, so I knew we'd have to have someone capable of dealing with through damage through hardness. But still, that thing had 36 hardness, and quickly looking through, do we have anything further to loot in this room? Before we do anything, actually, let's go ahead and take a snip of the big map so I can see exactly what room is which. There we go. So we are in room A15. Perhaps taking a look through the treasure. No significant treasure in this room. However, the false sarcophagi is worth some money. We can salvage some gold leaf with a little bit of money. Huh. Okay, sure. Well, that didn't seem to do much anything for us. So we'll go ahead and quickly look through the only door remaining in the room. As we step on up here. Make sure we're not stepping to a dangerous position. And kick that door open. Going to a room that doesn't seem to have anything labeled. Seems to be just water. Sending down. Might have been related in some way to this trap. It was related in some way to this trap, but we don't know that all that much. So, nothing left on that side. Let's go ahead and go over to this right side. And kick that door open. This is going to reveal a small room, maybe a 2 by 2, so a 10-foot by 10-foot room. So not a whole lot remaining inside here. Seems to be a small room filled with human-shaped bundles wrapped in linen. Each one wears a small medallion around its neck. There seems to be a number of mummies. Maybe a dozen or so of them. Hard to say exactly what this is for, but taking a quick look around. Medallions around their neck are small wooden holy symbols marked with Pharasma's spiral. Don't seem to have much more to it than that. So let's undo what we just did and grab the actual player or people as we shift over to this left side here. Realize that the map has been slightly askew. Probably me when I had the wrong layers selected on accident. But while we're here, we can also go ahead and set that to the back as I went ahead and set up the other map we were before the game started today. So continuing forward past the secret doors, of course checking for traps before we do anything. If there are traps, I can go ahead and see so. It doesn't look like anything is here in this hallway. So we'll go ahead and kick open the next door. Take a look around, find a secret tunnel connecting further here. And find the secret tunnel going to the south. Go ahead and mark an S there. And of course, we'll find the secret door on the other side, no big deal. But nothing really of value. So, continuing forward. As we take a look around, we'll check for traps and kick open this next door. This room holds several neatly arranged chests, boxes, and urns. The desk of sentries cover every surface. The only exit is a set of double doors to the south. Well, as players. So, there are a couple of ways you could do this as a GM with all of these secret doors. Step number one, and possibly the best way to do it, is to take a small snipping of each of these rooms. So, for example, you take the big main map, and then for each of these subsections that's considered its own special layer, take maybe a snipping of just this, and you put that on the GM layer. And as the players discover and open these various secret rooms, you send it down to the map layer. That'll populate that map data then. Makes things nice and easy to be able to read out. The other way you could do it is simply with dynamic lighting. You could make it so that there are no doors here. You could make it so there are just walls. And then as players reveal, if you have access to dynamic lighting, you just reveal these, or reveal the walls, open the doors. Makes things nice and easy. If you have access to or if you're planning to use the other lighting tool, the old lighting, the Fog of War tool, again, you only unhighlight the things that are relevant. Really just depends on your personal preference. Usually what I do is I have access to dynamic lighting, and I just use that. So don't have these secrets, and then you make nice clean walls. Of course, going only to here and on this side, leaving a red wall here compared to the lime green hues elsewhere, so that they can be removed as necessary. But kicking open and taking a look inside this room, you do need to go ahead and make a perception check. Actually, with guidance, our boy here can see it. Because he was given time, we can take a look. His perception is 11 plus 1 for guidance. Will be a 12. We will then notice a swarm trap. Specifically over here in this corner, guarding a secret door. There we go. That's what I was looking for. We can go ahead and mark. So let's go ahead and send Cypress over there and get him working on his disabled device. See how he's feeling now. So I'll give him a guidance, let him take 10 on that. With that, he will fail, but not fail enough to set off the trap. No one else is trained in disabled device to give him assistance in this matter, so he's just going to roll and have to hope for the best. Oh, before I accidentally get the invite link there, go ahead and roll a bunch of 200, D100. Okay. And off we go. Let's roll high, please. 21. 21 with guidance is enough to disable the trap. Seems to be some sort of magical trap. An alarm of some sort, if you try and touch this wall, would set off, in this case, a swarm trap. Swarms being a very dangerous feature, had we not been able to notice it, which an average party shouldn't be able to notice a lot of these traps, considering the DCs have all been 20 or higher. Most characters, unless they have invested significantly, have a maximum 5 wisdom, plus class skill of 3, plus 1 for skill rank, so a maximum of plus 9. The only reason we're able to see further than that is because Agamu is an Asimar that has class bonus, gets additional bonuses because he took it as a trait skill. So he is beyond the normal realm of possibility. But plus 9 with guidance would mean this trap is not seeable. So discussing how swarms work, if we take a look at the cockroach swarm. We go to AON. Go here. We can take a look. It's a CR2 creature. All swarms are, let's say, in diminutive vermin. It's a 2x2 square. So it's a large-sized creature, effectively, that represents a bunch of diminutive vermin. So, what does that mean? It means they have swarm traits and they're immune to basic weapon damage. Present light sensitivity, a bunch of movement speed, but what they every turn on their turn, They'll move up to their move speed to try and engulf as many players as possible. So in this case, at the start of combat, maybe we'd stand back here and Cypress would go up there to examine the door, or maybe we'd all position ourselves around the door. It would have been very bad. On their turn, they will, whenever they finish their movement, and they can go ahead and Tetris themselves however they like. So if they don't want to stay as a 2x2 block and maybe a big line will be the best, or maybe a Z formation will be best, however they want to Tetris themselves for connecting blocks, they'll do 1d6 points of damage and then roll a distraction. So it's a DC 14 fortitude save. And if you fail that, on your next turn, you will only get movement. So, they're immune to weapon damage. What does that mean? It means no weapons can hurt anything that targets single creatures. So, Scorching Ray is a single target ability. A weapon swing, single target ability. Stuff like that. They're immune to it. Now, luckily, this is the first time players are encountering swarms. Actually, very much like this. They made it so it's a trap that only lasts 2 rounds. So at worst, the party only has to deal with it for 2 rounds, and even new players will then learn what to do with swarms. So throwing bombs, throwing alchemist flasks at, or acid flasks at it, alchemist fire, any AoE abilities are very effective. In fact, not only they're effective, they do 1.5 times damage. Swarm. So this swarm has 26 HP, but if you do, 15 points of damage, that'll half again, rounded down, of course, so 22 points of damage, so it has a lot less HP than you'd think. A very dangerous encounter if you had to deal with the full danger of it, but considering it only does a little bit of damage, we can offset that by a couple of channels, not the end of the world. But back to the game now, as we go ahead and close out of that. We can go ahead and line ourselves up on the door now that we have seen the trap and discovered it for its true nature. We will, once again, check for traps just in case. Take a look around this room, though. None of the rooms in this place are locked. It holds the items that are most personal to Agentepi. Most of the things are chests, that contain things such as once fine clothes and sealed jars of food. Of course, given the centuries that have passed, none have any value to them. However, there are some items of value through it all. 2 vials of silver sheen, masterwork longbow, 10 cold iron arrows, a gold scarab clasp worth 50 gold pieces, silver onyx holy symbol of Pharasma worth 100 gold pieces, silver holy symbol, or silver hand mirror worth 35 gold pieces, and a waxio clay urn of worth 75 gold pieces. Now, excuse me. What do we do? All of this loot that is given just a straight gold piece value. So, for example, that silver handpiece mirror. Most of those are considered treasure, which means most gear in Pathfinder, all of the stuff that the players find, are going to be worth half their value when sold to a merchant. So if you find this masterwork longbow, for example, you don't get any strength on it. It's just gives you bonuses to hit. Not all that valuable to players because it doesn't do much. However, if I sell it to a merchant, it's worth 300 gold for being masterwork, plus I think 75 gold for being a longbow. Comp longbows are better. Off the top of my head, I think it's 75. I've read most of the weapon tables, but you don't often run into base longbows. Usually run into composite with bonus strength. But 375 divided by 2 will be, 150, 170, regardless. 185 and a half, or 187 and a half, something along those lines. That's the value you're going to get. However, the treasure, art pieces, treasure, gold pieces, some material components such as diamond dust, diamonds, gemstones, all of those things are considered trade goods. Those will have their full value when given over to merchants. So, just allows the players to get a little bit more money out of all this. All of these artifacts and such, worth their full value when traded to merchants. Another trick you can do is when you're adventuring, you can transition a lot of your money into certain material components, gemstones and diamond dust being the primary ones you may want to use, because those have their full value and they usually weigh a lot less. But back to the game, we go ahead and kick open this next door. Taking a look down the hallway, doesn't seem to have anything dangerous in it. Let's go ahead and transition the party to the end of the hallway. Gamu and then a Tease. This also seems to go underneath the water. I don't know where this water comes from, but quite decent. We'll kick open this door. Sarcophagi covered in gold leaf rests on a raised stone dais platform in the center of this chamber. Cassius' cover is carved in the likeness of an adult man with his arms crossed over his chest, covered in a thick coat of dust. Two ornate chests sit beyond the dais in the northeast and southeast corners. Between them stand two large funerary urns. The sole exit is to the door to the west. Taking a look around the room, we will see the perception check. As a creature rests within this room, ready to try and pounce on us. Pathfinder. Iron Cobra is going to be what we encounter here. Oh, let's go to Archives of Nethys, of course. Because that is a first-party source. Or not first-party, but it is the official source. Oh, this is a dangerous creature. So let's go ahead and go to our here. We go to free assets. We go to creatures and monsters. Give it a moment for this bad boy to open up. And we'll pull out a snake. This will be a medium-sized snake. It was trying to stealth, however, it is actually quite good at that. However, taking 10 on both creatures. In this case, I will not allow the party to take 10. Which means the entire party is going to have to roll on this. At least half of them make this perception check. Then we will be entitled to not getting surprise round. Okay, half the party is not going to succeed, assuming Big Green fails his skill check. Lo and behold, the party will not get or will get surprised by this encounter. Let me go ahead and shift over this to the right, since my big fat head is covering the left. So 15 HP and a ridiculous 20 AC. This is going to be a rough one. Let's go ahead and add you to the turn timer. And let's roll some d20s to get everybody going. Okay, Shari is +1, so 4. Cypress +3, 13. Agamu is a 6. Or a +7, which means you are at a 16. Scorpion is at +2 for a 5. Okay, surprise rounds. Surprise rounds are fairly simple. As I said before, everybody gets a single standard action in the surprise round. Otherwise, you go through initiative as per normal. So, Atis is not acting. Cypress, no, no, no. This guy gets a single surprise round action. Normally, he might take a partial charge. A partial charge is an action you can only make when you have a single standard action. You move half your movement speed and still get all the other bonuses for a normal charge. However, there's a big sarcophagi covering him, and he does not seem to have a climb speed. Even with the climb speed. So, instead, he's just going to move forward, plug up this hallway here, and that will be the end of his turn, which is going to end the surprise round. That also means we're going to have some problems trying to run into this room. So, let us go ahead and begin our turn with Atis, making a basic acid splash. Because, once again, this thing is looking like a Knowledge Arcana check, which we do not have. But it looks to be made of stone. And stone things are not conducive to the magic he has access to. Will fail. Next up is going to be Cypress. Cypress is going to look at that thing and try... I was going to say try and splash it. However, once again, he has a problem of not being able to do the damage the way he would prefer. So he's down to his last 2 bombs, if I remember correctly. He has 2 more of those today. He's going to splash it over in this corner. Actually, no. The room is too close. If he would throw the bomb like that, he might damage the sarcophagi. At least I, as a player, would be worried about that. So, in which case, we are going to not do that. I guess we're just going to try and use our crossbow. First, though, we need to roll a Knowledge Arcana check on this thing to try and identify it. We got a 25. We thus identify it as a fairly common creature, an Iron Cobra. It's one of the bestiary creature. You'll run into this fairly often, so CR 12. We exceeded the DC by 13, so we get 1, 2, 3 questions. 1 question for beating it, exceeding it, and then 1 for every 5 we beat it by. First, we'll ask special defenses. Special defenses has some DR, not bypassed by anything. My cutoffs are some DR for about 5s, a fair amount for CR or DR 10-ish, plus or minus some, and then for DR 15-ish, which is usually those 3 are about the most you'd get, is a lot of DR, or a large amount. Say something like that so it doesn't give them the exact amount. The players, of course, if they're any experienced, they'll figure that out quickly. But it allows you to have a little bit of leeway with the DR if it's not exactly. Immune construct as per construct traits, which means they are not susceptible to mind-affecting effects or any creatures that do not affect objects. They have SR 13, which means any magic that checks SR has to roll basically an attack roll against AC 13. It can be very difficult because most people aren't going to be +1 to this at this point. Next up, it has a... those are the things we learn with the special defenses. We'll learn special attacks. One that has a poison. And then beyond that, we'll ask about its poison, because that seems to be dangerous. Probably like something we'd study. Iron Cobra Bites ejects a poison from a hidden reservoir within the body. Because it's a construct, the Cobra does not naturally produce poison, and the creator must fill this reservoir manually. Holds enough for 3 successful bite attacks, afterwards the creature merely does its normal bite attack. Filling the reservoir takes 5 rounds, blah blah blah. It typically can fill it with an injury poison, which is typically back adder venom, though acid, alchemical substance, and even stranger liquids have been used. So, in this case, we know that it is typically back adder venom, and I wouldn't read this last part, because it can be filled with anything. So, Blackadder Venom, we don't know a whole lot about. Maybe I can make a knowledge check about that. I'm not all too worried about it. But I'm just going to attempt a crossbow shot. Fortunately, I'm not very good with these crossbows, as we can easily see. So, Agamu is now going to look at that creature and go, I am also not good with crossbows. So, we're just going to try and hit AC 10, plink right off its defenses. And we've got a dumb little construct here. Once again, no intelligence, no constitution, just a big, hardy, beefy lad. Is going to attack something. Lows, or high will be Shari, lows will be Big Green. That will be low for Big Green. And we will go ahead and make an attack roll. 13 plus our 3, but AC 16. Does that hit our Big Green flat-footed? We go over to this page, and we see flat-footed of 14, which means we will miss. Notably, that does not mean the poison has been expended. It says 3 successful bite attacks, which means we still have the ability to use those. Next up will be Shari in Big Green. Once again, she is not very good with her, or the creature is in melee. We really probably should look into getting Shari a melee weapon, because these reach weapons are causing issues with her. But she can go ahead and stab it with a dagger and miss horribly. And then Big Green is somewhere in here. There we go. We'll give him the old bop bop. 2 misses. This is going to turn into a slapfest. Now then, let's go ahead and just save time. I'm just going to straight roll 3d20, and if they're really high numbers, such as that, for Atis will then have a +2 to hit, which means this thing has a touch AC of 13, which means we'll still miss. It means we need a nat 20 for them to hit. None of them are nat 20, so the creature then gets to attack. It will similarly, once again, attack Big Green, because he has no other target that did damage to him. This time, however, he's +3, but Big Green has gone to his normal armor class of a 20, which means he'll miss. Let's go to Shari and Big Green. Boop bop. Once again, 2 misses. And Shari will hit him with the dagger. Full damage, or it will hit successfully. However, it will do no damage because of the DR that the creature has access to. So once again, nothing happens. 1, 2, 3. All misses. Now then, the acid splash we've been shooting up technically do hit somewhere. However, Atisse is smart enough, she'd probably aim it down onto the ground so that if it were to miss, it just uselessly smack against the ground here. A little bit of desecration, but most importantly, it's not to the tomb. If you as the GM want to be that guy, don't be that guy. You can track things like miss range spells. Sometimes it matters if you're throwing out fire in a wooden rooms, but most magic is explosive fire damage as opposed to burning fire damage. So it's just a burst of fire, and then it's gone. So it's not usually enough to catch things in the room on fire, unless specifically they're highly flammable. Acid is kind of the same way. For the most part, it doesn't do enough damage to significantly cause issues. The acid only lasts for a few moments, so it may make a little bit of few wear spots in the ground, but not too big an issue. Okay, once again, we're going to be attacking Big Green. I'm not smart enough to know to attack something different at this point in time. And once again, we will fail. Shari will miss. Big Green will make a couple of attacks. And miss. Now then, we're going to do something a little different. Atisse is going to attack as per normal. Same with Agamu. However, Cypress, recognizing the issues that Shari has had when trying to attack, he's going to offer his Morning Star. What that means is he's going to first draw it as a move action that will provoke. Or no, he has to draw it as a standard action and then offer it as a move action. How swapping items between players work. One person, it is going to take a move action to bring it from one person to another. Either the person holding it initially can use a move action to offer it, in which case anybody can take it as a free action, or the person wanting to retrieve it can grab it as a move action. There's problems with Bab here, but we're not going to worry too much about that. For the most part, it's not going to provoke. So, we slide down next to the bad creature who's going to attack and miss. Shari is going to take it as a free action. She has a free hand, and is going to attack with the Morning Star instead of the dagger. So hopefully it'll do a little bit more damage. First off, we've successfully hit once for a little bit of damage. -4 here. Next, she is going to drop her dagger and two-hand this Morning Star, getting some bonus damage with it. And we're just going to go ahead and make a... Alright, what have you got here? You have a D10 and a D... Okay, let's go ahead and make you a new attack. This will be a Morning Star. It'll be a melee attack. Do 1d8 points of damage. It'll be a BP weapon. E/P. AC 20, yep, all that's right, except this is going to be strength times 1.5. Come on. A little faster. There we go. Okay, we'll miss. However, that is a lot more damage than when we were swinging out with our dagger. So, hopefully when she hits, things will go well. Next up, we get the idiot squad over here. Once again, all missing. We've got the snake, who will miss very closely. However, because, once again, Big Green's the only thing that hurt it, we got the little squad swinging away. Okay, Morning Star, miss. And more misses. This is the kind of combat that no one finds enjoyable. I'm gonna let you say that. Nothing is happening. It's been 5 or 6 rounds in combat. One attack has happened for minimal amounts of damage. High DR is something you really should almost never include in low-level games like this. I think the writers have... I think this should have gone through testing a little bit better, and the writers recognize that this is going to be an issue, especially with these high armor class values. Closed rooms like this, only one person gets to even play in combat here. The rest of them could, yeah, spend turns healing this person up, but otherwise this is just a slapfest. We wait until eventually one side rolls an exceptionally high number. This guy needs to roll a 17 or higher, these guys need to roll a 16 or higher. It's a noodle fest, and no one has fun here. As a writer, or as a GM, Yeah, it makes sense. It's a boss encounter. These are supposed to be hard. These are supposed to last a little longer. But I, as a writer, would not do this. Next, we got the Noodle Brigade. 1, 2, 3. The creature, once again, will miss. Let's go to Big Green and Shari. Oh, look, there's some more damage there. It's times 7 damage. Now we only need one more good wallop. With this Morning Star? Nope, not good enough. Okay, and then Noodle Brigade and then Creature. 3. Creature will miss. Shari will not finish it off, but Big Green also not finish it off. And finally, the creature hits. That'll do 1d6 plus 1 points of damage. 6 plus 1 for 3 points of damage against good old Big Green here. And he will need a Fortitude save. He failed his Fortitude save. That is very bad because we do not have a way to fix that issue. 3 points of damage down to 10. And he take a Fortitude save. So, poisons. DC for 11. Cure 1 save. It'll do 1d2 points of con damage. And roll. 1d2 con. 2. That's a very bad number. Luckily, we're still low enough level where that's not a huge imposition. We need to then go down here. But damage either -2 or +2, whichever one reduces our number. Answer is -2, looks like. Hold on, let's go ahead and give that a refresh. Yes, okay, 2 damage there. We'll go ahead and reduce our HP by 2. The only way to get rid of that, however, is to rest it off. Hopefully we can finish this fight before that becomes too big an issue. Next up, we got the good old Noodle Brigade. That will all miss. Oh, no, hold on. Shari and Big Green didn't make their attacks. That will miss. Now Big Green will miss. He will need another Fortitude save. And another fail. Gosh darn it. He is +2, which means this will fail his roll. Alternatively, what I should have done is swapped Cypress and Agamo around, and they should have made a guidance roll. That would have made he made the save. However, I did not say I did that, so we are not going to worry about it. 2 more con damage, which means our Big Green here is really just horrifically in a rough way. His max HP pool is down now to 9. Is now down to 9. Okay. And now I did all those attacks. Now the monster gets to attack. Big Green's still the only one that's hurt it. And now Shari and the gang gets to go. Get a miss. More misses. Gonna guidance our Big Green this time. How long does this poison last? If we go over to our Iron Cobra. 6 rounds. So unless he rolls above a 20 on this next one, he will then need to take some more con. God. One con damage. Luckily, 1 con damage doesn't mean anything. It's only at every 2 that it matters. Drain matters every 1. Damage matters every 2. Unless you have 2 damage, it doesn't actually affect your score. So even though it would technically be a 5, only when it rounds down will it affect the modifier. Next up, we will have... everybody made their attacks. We got the Idiot Squad here, only 2 of them making attack rolls this time. Nothing happens, and now it's the monster's turn. Nothing happens. Come on. Throwing so many dice at this problem, and it's still not going away. And he'll fill his Fortitude save again. Huzzah! Another point of con damage. Means he's now down to 7 max hit points. He's basically unplayable. Imagine if this was a party member. It's just ridiculous. Okay. Now the bad guys get to go, plus the 2 idiots. Nat 20, does it confirm? It does confirm! Big Green's going down. Okay, Big Green now is going to take 1d6 plus 1 points of damage. Last roll. 6 plus 1. He'll take that twice for a total of 8 points of damage. Oh god, this might kill him. Because keep in mind... Oh, yep, he's dead. He only has a con score right now of 4 because of his con damage, which means he went down to -4, he would have died. I think that's dumb, personally. If I was a GM in this circumstance, I probably would have pulled my punch. So that only did, like, 6 points of damage. I know he had a little bit of hit points left. Just enough to put him negative, but enough that a little bit of magical healing would be enough, because this fight is frankly probably the stupidest boss fight I've ever encountered in early levels of Pathfinder. One of the. I've seen one that's way, way worse, but this is up there with the worst boss fight I've ever encountered. Would that poison have run its course before now? Nope, because he's failed every single round, and he's only failed... that'd be the 5th round. So nope, still 1 round of poison remaining. So we'll assume I'm, as a GM, going to pull my punches here, not kill off an animal companion within the first session. Because this dungeon should be all done in 1 session. I'm taking a little bit of extra time because I'm talking through everything. So instead, we'll put him down to, like, -2. Means it is now their turn. He does need to make a save here, and has a chance of dying. And once again, 1d2, 1 point of damage, which means he is now still horrifically mangled, but he's still not dead. Still has 1 con left, which means we need a burst healing. Speaking of burst healing, Agamu's got some burst healing in him. Shari, however, will also need to make a ride check to not fall prone. Is a DC 15, I believe, because I have a military saddle. It'll be somewhat difficult, so you will fall prone off of your mount. You can rotate the token sideways, or however you want to do this. Very unfortunate. And then we have Shari's turn. She is going to need to stand up. There's no way about it. Which means the big, mean creature is going to get an attack roll on her, because of the provoke, which will hit, because Shari only has an AC of 15, -4 because she is prone. We've already rolled the hit. 6 plus 1. Do 5 points of damage. And we then need to roll a fortitude save on Shari. Luckily, her save is a little bit better. Easily make it. No big issue with that. And then she is going to make an attack roll. Still miss horribly. Now, the Idiot Brigade is going to drag Big Green back. And Agamu is going to go ahead and burst heal. Agamu, go ahead and roll high, please. As we channel to heal for 2 points, which should not bring good old Big Green positive. Bring him down to 0. However, he'll be wobbly and just be told to stay still. Needs to roll another fortitude save, which he will fail, but luckily the poison will have run its course. At this point, however, you take 1 more point of con damage. Go down to -8 on his con score, and be basically worthless. Okay. Now the bad guy gets to attack. He will miss Shari. Now Shari gets to attack. One day she'll actually hit. Golly. I will note Big Green now has an opportunity to roll... Oh wait, no, everybody he will heal to. Sorry, I forgot about that. Everybody heals 2. Agamu will go ahead and use his last channel for 1 point of damage. But most importantly, that's enough to bring Big Green back into a high amount. Oh, no, Big Green fell back unconscious. Okay, well, he's conscious again. He has 5 hit points. And then the bad guy already attacked. The bad guy did attack. You know, positive, a couple d20s, and then the bad guy gets to attack. Nope, nope, nope. And this one will hit. Shari will take some damage. Hopefully not max damage. A 1d6 plus 1. 5 points of damage, which is a lot, but nowhere near the problem that we hope it is. As, once again, Shari will need to roll a Fortitude save. Please roll high. Thank goodness. Her animal companion is basically worthless. Let's not make her basically worthless as well. Now then, Shari, are you going to roll above a 16 for the first time in your bloody life? Yes, finally we killed a creature after it nearly killed 2 of our players. Should have killed 2 of our players, but again, low-level games like this, I do not like killing people because, effectively, players have spent days, at the very least hours, possibly days, thinking up a backstory for their character, writing their character. For them to die just because of a badly written counter, and then horrible, horrible dice. Because keep in mind, to fail all those saves, that animal companion had to roll 6. Fails 6 50-50 rolls in a row to fail all those fortitude saves. Had a single one succeeded, he would have been fine. Which means he just got horrifically unlucky, which may have killed him. Instead, he's just going to be out for a few days. Not the end of the world. Don't kill your players at this level. Once you start getting up into higher level is when I'd start more seriously threatening players. Once they have the money to deal with it. Because it would be very, very sad if I just had to wipe out Big Green. Or, more importantly, for example, if Shari had a similar issue, and Shari was the one who took that first attack instead of Big Green, Shari also could have just straight up died. Yes, she rolled her fortitude save as well, but had she had the dice rolling with Big Green, she would have been dead. And the player would have tossed out their character sheet and probably not wanted to come back to Pathfinder. I've been in that circumstance. When I first played Pathfinder, I didn't have the most enjoyable experience because I was playing organized play, and it was very different from what I was used to, a lot more combat-focused. Played that character for a while. He died due to a poorly run game. In organized play, the GM varies a lot, and the person who ran the game did a very, very poor job, was distracted, was talking to someone else basically the entire time, and did not properly inform us that we weren't supposed to do something, so we went kind of headlong into it. Not realizing that it was supposed to be... It was a big event, big special event, and we were low level, and it was supposed to be something high level players were supposed to deal with. Not us. So half the table died because he didn't say, no, you shouldn't do that, or have anybody tell us, no, you shouldn't do that. I was like, oh yeah, whatever, sure. But then I tried to bring in a new character, and in the first session, we died. Our dice went cold. Not the end of the world. It was the first session with those characters, but it can be really, really disheartening. It took me a while before I went back to organized play. I did continue playing Pathfinder, don't get me wrong, because I'd like the system. But if it is your first experience playing with playing in a role-playing system, a new role-playing system, or playing Pathfinder in general, having horrific things happen to your character in the first session or two, it's not something you want. Give them a little bit of time. Give them a little bit of time to get used to the system before you start looking into dealing with the characters. I'm not saying let them get away with doing stupid stuff. However, in this circumstance, this wet noodle fight that just went horribly, horribly cold for the 12 rounds of combat, you can get away with it. So, with that being said, things have gone quite bad. Let us go ahead and take a look through the loot now that we have dealt with this location. Gold leaf decorating the sarcophagi is worth some money, if enough time is spent to salvage all of it. Inside the sarcophagi contains the mummified corpse wearing an exquisitely crafted gold funerary mask. One of the chests contains Agentepi's armor, which is on page 60, or we can just Google it, because everything is available on Google for Pathfinder. Akin Tepe's armor. We'll get to that in just a moment. A magical suit of padded armor he wore in life. The other chest holds a disintegrated cloth sack filled with 500 gold pieces, as well as a well-preserved dark-wood coffer worth 50 gold pieces. Inside are some potions, including a potion of lesser restoration. And then some various trade goods. By the time we have reached this chamber, we should have expectedly gained everything. Okay, taking a quick look through this next section. Before we do anything, let's go ahead and learn how identifying magic items work. So, this magic item has a caster level of 7, which means it'll be a DC 22 to identify the item. The Identify spell, should they cast that in their downtime, will give them a +1 bonus to it. Should they... normally it's just a guidance plus a spellcraft check. Taking 10 on it is what you'll end up doing most of the time. However, once again, the party is not capable of identifying magical items at this time because they are not trained in... or everybody is not trained in... The only person trained in spellcraft, Cypress, does not have access to detect magic as a cantrip. He can get that later. We're going to spend some money getting him that. But for now, he's unable to identify magic items. So we'll have to get them identified in town, or more likely, have someone cast Identify. Identify. We go to this as a spell. Functions detect magic, except it gives you some bonuses. We'll probably have the alchemist pick this up next level and just have him cast this in his during the downtime. That's 3 rounds per level, and allows you to identify magic items with a +1, so it allows him to effectively identify 1 magic item per caster level. Now, I'm going to go ahead and have Big Green drink that potion of lesser restoration. It heals ability damage, specifically 1d4 points of ability damage. In this case, 3, because venturing through the desert is a very dangerous affair. So we want to make sure he has some HP. And I believe we've used all our magical healing, so for the moment, we probably want to rest in town before we go back. Just because of or rest in this tomb before we go back. We might rest in town, depending on how the GM wants to rule it. Real quick, though, let's go ahead and make sure we've not missed any rooms in this location. Technically, A13 we have not gone... A13 and A14 we have not gone to. So we'll take a quick peek through those. A13, which is down here, is probably where we want to start. Now, we'll go in the other direction so we don't... Starting over here, just in case. There are... a secret passage in A14 representing this long corridor. Crouched to the north of this tomb, the rough eastern passage is not lined with masonry. At various points along the tunnel, sections of the wall have been crumbled, as something had dug small tunnels in the walls that subsequently collapsed. Throughout this location, there seems to be a number of mining beetles. These are fire beetles with the advanced template. So we go fire beetle. Good old AON. AC 12. So, the advanced template adds 4 to all of their statistics here. So think about it this way. It adds +2 to all their d20 rolls. That makes things nice and easy. It adds 2 hit points per con score. So, 1 times 2 is 2, plus 4 is 6. So 6 HP. And then it'll add 2 to their AC from their dexterity bonus. Excuse me. Plus 2 additional natural armor. So AC 16 is what the advanced template will give these guys. So it should be a relatively easy affair. +3 damage, just a little bit of damage here. Not that big a deal. They have nothing else other than they glow a little bit. Taking a look around. It looks like... it might only be possible... Only the southern door allows it to be opened from the inside, but it shuts if left unattended for 2 rounds. It cannot be opened from the other side. So you have to come at the door from the north. It is locked, however, but with a DC 20 disabled device, we can open it. No big deal. I'm not going to run this encounter. I'm just going to talk about it. A13 also has some mining beetles inside. But it does not seem to This encounter is not all that dangerous. Again, a nice bomb throw could do it. Uh, Even minimum damage on a nice bomb throw could do it. So we'll just pretend those encounters we don't exist. Again, as I said, we're gonna be skipping encounters as we start getting later if they're not all that important. It might be a little bit dangerous, but Cypress throwing in the front, we'll just throw a couple of bombs and counter over. Or better yet, if those things are they mindless? They are probably mindless. So still no color spray target valid. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to follow links down below if you want to see some of my content, and I will see you all next time.